What we do? We marching. We marching. Behind the big truck, loyal opposition, we moving up. Behind the big truck. You. Be on up. Sun come up, I feel the vibe. Time to move, we come alive. Step by step, no turning back. Behind the big truck, on the track.
Myself. There am I. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show, and we are coming to you live from Barbados. I have in my hand the national flag of Barbados, and you just heard that lovely anthem of Barbados. Good evening to everybody. You are watching the Marcia Week Show, where we mobilize, where we educate. I need to start with educate first, because it's Emma, right? We educate, we mobilize, we motivate, and we agitate right here on the Marcia Week Show, coming to you live from Barbados. And tonight we have an amazing show lined up for you, because guess what, guys? Guess what? We tonight we are dealing with not just local issues, okay? Not just local issues, but we're gonna extend ourselves a little bit, as we've been doing. We did that for St. Kitts, and so tonight we are going to go over to Trinidad, and we're going to go over to Guyana, and we're going to go over to Grenada, and we're going to look at what is happening there, as it relates to what Trump is doing, the growing military presence of the United States across the Caribbean. So tonight, guys, we are going to do some traveling. All right, so stay with me, because we're going to come right back to Barbados. So don't worry, all right? And, as we're living in a time when the future of Barbados and, the entire Caribbean is being quietly negotiated behind closed doors, We see the Uber slipping into our market without transparency. Last night we talked to you about the allegations of fraud in the Blue Green Bank. Brown water in St. Lucie. I'm seeing some water coming out of the tap in St. Lucie. It is just frightening. And the people are told that they can drink it. And of course, we have the Citizen and Immigration Bill that could practically redefine who we truly are, and who truly belongs here. And as we fight these local battles, Barbadians, a far bigger one is unfolding in our backyard. It's a growing military presence of the United States across the Caribbean. Even as our leaders, our CARICOM leaders, talk about creating a zone of peace. So tonight we're asking the hard questions, not just about corruption, exploitation, and failed leadership, but about sovereignty, accountability, and the right of Caribbean people to determine their own destiny. This is the Marcia Week Show, and the battle for our backyard starts right now. Good evening to every single one of you. And I'm going to take a few minutes and welcome everybody to the show tonight. That's if you're signed on, okay? So I'm going to call a couple names because you know how we do it. We're a family. While I'm doing this, I'm kindly going to ask you to share, to like and share, very important. All right. Lucinda, good evening. Monica, good evening. Teroni, Judy. Hey, I'm going fast, because I have a lot to do tonight, but I got to call the names, man. Vernon and Ryan and Mavis and Bajan Boy, you're back. Jefferson, Sopas, Lori Bob. Lori Bob always like and share. She says, I like and share already. Owen Hines, Marcia Miller, Matthew B. Matthew B. Wasn't he awesome last night when he called in? And speaking about calling in, we need you to call in tonight. Yeah, we need everybody to call in tonight at 9 o'clock. Born Again, Marcia, Mildred Ben, Cami, Marcia again. Sir Alfred Benjamin from Brooklyn. Yes, Emma, EDU. What is the EDU? You all making these things up for me, Beverly Prescott, Malin. That's right. Sandra. A motivational Monday to everyone. We're going to be motivated tonight. Jacqueline, Isaiah 53. Isaiah 53. Andrea Critchlow. You have on your seatbelt. You put on the seatbelt. Put on the seatbelt. Michael Gillett. Heathcliff, how are you? Here's Harris. Good evening, is Harris. Monica Ince. You see that we're having the show. No, not the show, the march. What am I talking about? I'm reading something else and speaking at the same time and lost my train of thought. We are having the march, guys. The march is happening. The march is happening, folks. And it is this Saturday. This Saturday coming up, Shirley, Beverly Prescott, Sam Clark, Pepper Shaw, Galbiz, Mr. B. I hope I didn't leave out anybody, did I? I hope not. I hope not. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Didn't we have an amazing show last night? We had an amazing show last night, and we have a greater one lined up for you tonight. So we have guests that are going to join us from Guyana, from Grenada. Don't we want to hear from the people from Grenada? And we have from Trinidad as well. And tonight we're going to have, I believe we're going to have a really, really, really great show tonight. We also going to have Mr. Dale Rowe. Dale Rowe was on the site today when just after the accident happened at Lester Vaughan School. And so he's going to come on and share with us what he saw, what he felt, and what he thinks is a message to us Barbadians. I wanted to stay on for that, guys. And I want you to stay locked on, because a lot of times when we're talking about things that have to do with, other Caribbean islands, somehow we believe it doesn't, concern us. And, we're not too interested. But I wanted to stay on tonight. Now, how many of you have been following what's been happening in the Caribbean, read the military presence? Anybody? Who's been following? Who's been following? We're going to have, as you're thinking about what's been happening in terms of the military presence in the Caribbean, I also wanted to tell you that we are due to have someone from St. Lucie. They're going to be calling into the program and talking to us about their situation there as well. And we want you to call in as well. Listen, folks, you might have gotten a pure, clean water out of your tap this evening, but the people in St. Lucie did not. Right? Lots of different parts in St. Lucie did not. Apparently, there are some places that get a little cleaner water than others. All right. His Harris have been following. Donnie Callender been following. And Ryan Rock, okay. And Sherlock have been following, and CG and Mr. B. All right, so stay locked on, guys. We're gonna go a little deeper. So let me just use the next few minutes while I wait on my guests to start arriving. Let me use the next few minutes just to give us an overview of what has been happening. Key facts and development. The United States Southern Command, which is called the Southcom, they have ramped up operations in the Southern Caribbean, deploying major naval, air, and amphibious assets. Multiple guided missile destroyers, a nuclear-powered submarine, amphibious assault ship, and marine units have been deployed. Advanced air assets, stealth fighters, MQ-9 Reaper drones have been reported at bases such as Puerto Rico. These deployments purportedly relate to counter-narcotics, maritime security, and deterrence operations, especially in nearby Venezuela. There have been military strikes and engagements in Caribbean maritime zones. The U.S. military struck a suspected drug smuggling vessel in Caribbean waters on the 16th of October, just a couple days ago, making a first with confirmed survivors. Venezuela and other regional actors have protested, calling the U.S. presence a violation of sovereignty and raising the alarm about what they view as military escalation rather than purely counter-narcotics action. Some regional governments are publicly supporting, or at least a few of them, they're not too sure of the U.S. president's presence, even as others remain cautious or critical. Trinidad and Tobago, for example, explicitly backed U.S. operations in the Southern Caribbean, stating they help tackle drugs and instability. At the same time, the zone of peace, ideal for the Caribbean, is being questioned by regional leaders, with some saying the region is far from peaceful given the military and crime dynamics. Do you agree with that? The scale and type of assets involved suggests this isn't just routine Coast Guard patrols. It's a layered military posture with strike, surveillance, amphibious, and special operation capabilities. So, As we know, it's a live unfolding issue. And tonight we will explore how this how this trend, this military trend ties into what's happening in Barbados. How does it tie in? We're going to look at governance and to see how that ties in. All right. So we are going to have with us Dr. GERALD PERREIRA, and I can see him. I'm hoping that he would turn on his camera as soon as possible. Yes, Dr. GERALD PERREIRA, and he is a liberation theologian. He is a political activist. He's an educator. He's also the chairperson of Organization for Victory of the People in Guyana. And we are supposed to have Dr. TERRENCE MARRYSHOW, a medical doctor trained in Cuba, former political leader of the Maurice Bishop Patriotic Movement, and he's an executive member of the Maurice Bishop October 19th and Martyrship Foundation. And we say October 19th, and as we say that, we remember that yesterday would have been the memorial of the we're going to say the execution of Maurice Bishop. Well, let me welcome our two guests, Dr. GERALD PERREIRA. Welcome, sir, to the Marcia Week Show.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me in your program. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. You're most welcome. And Dr. TERRENCE MARRYSHOW from Grenada. Welcome to you both, sir.
Thank you, Marcia. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for your kind invitation to appear on your program.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we want to go right in it. Go right. We've already, brought the viewers up to date on what has been happening, and we're very, very happy that you're here, because when we think of, I want to go to Guyana first. I want to go to Dr. GERALD first, because oftentimes, sir, when we talk about this military presence in the Caribbean, we focus a lot on Trinidad, we're focused on Venezuela, but we're not so focused on Guyana. Guyana is very, very quiet over there in the corner, very, very quiet. But we know that there has been a row between Venezuela and Guyana. And so I want to ask you, as a Guyanese, what is the temperature in Guyana? What's going on in Guyana at the moment, as they hear of these drug boats being blown up, and the possibility Trump is saying that they might go in on foot for Maduro? What are Guyanese saying? What's the temperature in Guyana?
Okay, Sister Marcia, the first thing I'd like to say is that we do a lot of work. Our organization, we work in a lot of communities.
Yes.
And most of our supporters on our base are African Guyanese.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of people that we come across, working class people who travel to the interior, to the gold mining areas that are close to Venezuela border. And so they do not believe the colossal lie that Venezuela wants to invade Guyana. This lie is peddled by the United States the Trump fascist regime, and it was peddled by the soft face of fascism, the Democrats, before. Now, if you look at it carefully, the United States did place Venezuela under sanctions for a number of years.
Yes.
And the sanctions has damaged the economy of Venezuela.
Yes.
They're somehow recovering. Why would President Maduro and the leadership of the Bolivarian Revolution, why would they want to attempt an invasion of Guyana when they know, they're fully well aware, that is like giving the enemy everything on a silver platter?
Mm.
doesn't make sense. And we have to understand that Guyana, as well as Trinidad, and to a lot also the government in Jamaica, are openly colluding and collaborating with U.S. imperialism. Now let's deal with the government of Guyana. This thing about the territorial issue, this territorial conflict or dispute between Guyana and Venezuela goes right back to the colonial times in 1899. 1899, when they had the arbitral award that established the boundary between what was then British Guyana and Venezuela.
Yes.
However, and this is what a lot of some of our scholars, academics, and so are not focusing. Somehow Venezuela reopened the case in 1962, claiming that the 1899 award was null and void. The question, why 1962? Let me tell you what happened. In 1962, Cheddi Jagan, the founder of the People's Progressive Party, which is the ruling party in Guyana.
Yes.
Cheddi Jagan was a self-proclaimed Marxist, and he became the premier. He served up to 1958, up to 1962. He was the first self-proclaimed Marxist to be elected, to win, come through the ballot. And this was long before President Salvador Allende of Chile. So what happened was, the Romulo Betancourt government at that time in Venezuela had an insurgency, a left-wing insurgency on its hands. There was a movement, there was an organization by the name of the Revolutionary Left Movement, and another by the name of the Armed Forces for National Liberation. There was even a rebellion in the military. And he was facing a left-wing, what was referred to, he described it as a communist insurrection. And he accused Cuba, the Cuban Revolution was in 59, of supporting the guerrilla forces. So just across the border, you had Cheddi Jagan, who recognized Cuba and was a Marxist. And the Americans, it was the Americans that pushed Betancourt to reopen the territorial dispute so that they can go after the then premier, who was a Marxist, a Marxist, because Betancourt did not want a Marxist regime on the border, and then he's dealing with this left-wing insurrection, Marxist rebels in the whole country. The point I'm getting to, and I want to make,
yes,
that the territorial issue has been dormant. It was dormant for years.
Right.
But it is always resurrected, reactivated, or resuscitated anyone when the United States wants to go after a government or a regime that they're hostile to.
But sir, if I can say this though, in 2023, December 2023, Venezuela held a national referendum, right?
Yeah.
And they asked citizens if they agreed to annex Essequibo and create a new Venezuela, and that state, new Venezuelan state called Guyana Essequibo. The referendum passed overwhelmingly. That's what we read in the news, right? Though internationally condemned as provocative and illegal. Guyana, your country responded by mobilizing its defense forces and appealing to the UN. So what OAS, CARICOM, and the ICJ and everybody and so on and so on. The US South Command conducted joint exercises with Guyana in December and again in 2025, saying they were for security cooperation. Venezuela saw them as acts of aggression. Now, what I'm getting to is that you said that, you know, the escalation happens, you know, when the US wants it to happen. But then remember now that it was Venezuela that held that national referendum in 2023. So can you explain that, please?
Well, I want to say this. I want to make a number of things quite clear.
Yes.
First of all, this territorial issue is a colonial creation.
Yes, sir.
As an anti-colonialist and an anti-imperialist, I cannot ignore the history that the French, the Dutch, and the British came into this part of the world, committed genocide against the indigenous peoples, and then carved up these lands and divided them into what was controlled by the Spanish, the Dutch, the French, and all of them.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I also believe that once the baby's out of the womb, you can't stuff it back.
Mm-hmm.
However, I agreed with President Chavez when he visited. He said that this territorial thing is a colonial creation. We have to put it on the back burner and work together. I do not believe that from our side, from the Guyana side, that there were people who were capable of making independent judgments. I think they were being pressured because Exxon is on this side of the border. I have always said that sometimes the rhetoric that comes out of Caracas is self-defeating. I am not here to defend the statements of President Maduro, the referendum they kept. I disagreed with that. I disagree with that. But this is what I'm saying. America has never, if you look at the history of this territorial issue, the United States has always supported Venezuela on it. We had a president by the name of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, right? And when Burnham was pursuing an anti-imperialist line, he was a towering figure in the non-aligned movement in CARICOM, and Burnham allowed the Cuban troops who were going to Angola to fight the racist apartheid regime that was being backed by America and other Western countries. Burnham allowed them to refuel in Guyana. Errol Barrow allowed them first, but pressure came on Barbados. And there was tremendous pressure on Burnham to stop, and Burnham refused. Because Henry Kissinger and them threatened to bomb the airport. Where I'm getting. So the United States was edging Venezuela on to invade Guyana. They sold Venezuela F-16 fighters. And Burnham launched the People's Militia to defend our country. So today, the United States, there's a regime in Caracas that the US is opposed to. So now they're supporting Venezuela. My point is this: irrespective of whether you're pro-Maduro, anti-Maduro, or what, all Venezuelans believe that Essequibo belongs to Venezuela. All. So if Maduro is removed tomorrow,
yes,
whoever's coming in, the right wing, whoever the Americans put in, they will still hold on to that because they believe that. Everyone. So
you don't see an impending danger for Guyana, regardless whether Maduro stays or not. None.
Of course, there's a danger. The United States, the Trump regime is bent on war, regime change. This is not about, you will have to be an absolute moron or a fool or living on our planet to believe that this is about fighting drugs.
Yes.
This lunatic Trump, and I'm going to use the term because we have some, I'm going to say this unapologetically, we have some Indian ethnic supremacists
but before
in
you
Trinidad
get there,
and Guyana.
Yeah, before you get there, because I want you to go there, but just hang on there a bit. So let's just establish because I want to bring Dr. MARRYSHOW in on the conversation, and Dr. Abdullah is getting ready to come into the program as well. So from what I'm understanding from you right now, that the people in Guyana who they traverse or work, they're close to the border, they don't see an impending danger of Venezuela invading Guyana at this moment.
I speak to people every day.
Every day, and you don't see
Every
that.
day.
Okay. All right, no
I
problem.
I know the regime. I know the Guyanese regime. Listen to the Americans. In fact, we have a simple saying. We put it in a nutshell. They're all scared of white people. They're all frightened of white people.
Okay. Well, we're going to come back to you, but let me bring Dr. David Abdullah in, and just to welcome him and introduce him to the audience, and then we are going to have our start our discussion with Dr. MARRYSHOW. So David Abdullah is an economist, retired trade union leader, political leader for the Movement for Social Justice. He's a member of the Regional Committee of the Assembly of Caribbean People, and he is from Trinidad and Tobago. Let me welcome Mr. David Abdullah. Welcome, sir.
Hello, good evening. Just one correction. I don't have a doctorate. Unlike my good friend Terry. Good evening, Terry. Good to see you. And, and Gerald, good evening as well. Thank you for having me. And of course, as I said to you, Marcia, I could only be on for a short while this evening.
Yes.
Terry's not that familiar, but Gerald would be. Today is Diwali, which is a Hindu festival of lights, public holiday in Trinidad and Tobago, and Guyana too, I would expect. And I'm at some friends' home, enjoying their hospitality. So I'm really taking time away from engaging in that social activity this evening. It's a very important festival and public holiday in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining us. Let me quickly go to and Dr. MARRYSHOW will bear that in mind, that even when he's gone, we're still going to be able to continue our conversation. But I want to involve you in this conversation. We were we were reading the newspaper or watching the internet, and heard that you had a special request by President Trump. Okay, so President Trump made a special request to Grenada. And I want to ask you, sir, based on that request, what's the temperature in Grenada? What is happening on the ground in Grenada, sir?
Well, a request like that really is a slap in the face of Grenadians. And what we have been seeing is spontaneous organizations of people coming together and opposing this. The reporters have been out on the streets asking the opinions of people, but we have very few exceptions.
Just remind the people of what this request is. It's not a request to come over and have Diwali with Trinidad or in Trinidad, right? It's a special request. So tell the people what this request is.
Well, the government has received a request from the United States government for the installation of radar equipment and installation of a contingent of about 100, I suppose, workers that would man this radar. These would obviously be military people. Be positioned at none other than the Maurice Bishop International Airport.
Wow. Maurice Bishop International Airport.
Right. Or international airport that was always built for commercial purposes, but which in the aftermath of the revolution and the buildup of the same propaganda that Dr. Weeks was just talking about, when the Americans want to get you, once you say Marxist, once you say socialist, they out to get you. And so immediately, they put in all kinds of maneuvers to attack Grenada. They rehearsed it on the island of Vieques of Puerto Rico. Reagan went on national TV and touted it as a Soviet-Cuban military base, and that Grenada was too small to have an airport like that. We struggled, and pretty much completed our airport until the invasion came in 1983.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the airport has been functioning. It has been one of the biggest largest of the revolution, because the economy thrives on the international airport, and that is what it was always intended to do:
Mm-hmm.
to bring tourists to the country, to bring Grenadians out into diaspora, and to play a role in the development of the economy, which it has been doing for all these years.
Yes.
Never contrary to what we have been saying since 1983. And so to come now and ask the Grenadian government, who actually has not consulted the Grenadian people,
Mm-hmm.
to now install radar equipment, which is military equipment, which we know for a fact is designed really for the build-up in this, threat that well, it's not a threat anymore, because Trump has openly said in recent days that he has given orders to the CIA to conduct covert operations in Venezuela. I don't know how that could be covert. If it's covert, you don't tell anybody about it. But these days, covert has become overt. And he has also instructed the Pentagon to draw plans for the invasion of Venezuela. So we know that this request from the U.S. government to put radar equipment and personnel on the Maurice Bishop International Airport is tantamount to the war plans that the Trump administration has to get rid of the Maduro government. The good doctor just said, we can't be naive and be fooled with all these nonsense, because we know exactly what they're behind. And this is all about oil. If you check the United States record and invading countries, you see the majority of the countries that have been invaded in modern times are oil-rich countries.
Yes.
Whether it is Syria, whether it is Libya, whether it is Iraq, and now Venezuela, it's all about oil. I don't know. They have so much oil. They boast, they have Trump boast about how much oil America has, and America is the biggest oil producer in the world. But why the hell do they want other people's oil? The oil of the other people are for the people. Right. There is for their development, but they, anytime they see oil, it's as if they see just riches, because they want all of the corporations and companies to go inside there and exploit it and leave nothing. In fact, even with Guyana right now, Guyana getting a raw deal. Correct. I mean, things would have improved compared to how they were before, but when you consider what Exxon takes out compared to what Exxon leaves back, right, it's like a drop in the bucket.
Exploit it.
And that's what they do everywhere. That's what they continue to do. So they want to get rid of Maduro, and that's why they asked for this radar equipment, military assets to be stationed on Grenada soil. And the majority of Grenadian people, I think, just out of sheer gut feeling and instinct, they're against it, because the majority of people who have been interviewed, I said, with few exceptions, by and large, people are saying, no, we don't want any military assets on our soil. And that is because history is instructed. We remember how they treated us in 1979 to 1983 when the same airport was being built. And now, when it is built and functioning 42 years later, since the revolution, they're now coming now and asking us to use it for military purposes. And that's against, it's an affront to the collective consciousness of Grenadians.
Yeah, and so they're pushing back. Grenadians, you're saying, but the thing is, and I'm going to come back to you, because I hear the people, but I haven't heard the leadership. But don't answer that just yet. You hold that right there, and let me go to David Abdullah so he could get back to his. Is it sweetmeats you're having? Did I get that right?
No, it's roti and some lovely vegetables, pumpkin and bodi and bhaji and so on.
Oh boy, that sounded really good. Sounded really good.
Lovely.
Well, you guys are having a great time there at the moment, but it was just a couple of days ago that the U.S. Embassy, Trinidad and Tobago issued a public security warning telling U.S. citizens to avoid visiting U.S. government facilities in Trinidad and Tobago during the weekend. And so when you heard something like that, one wondered whether you would have been able to you celebrate Diwali today. because people, I saw online people were like, oh, why did they say that? What is going to happen? So again, the question is the same question to you, sir. Talk to us about Trinidad right now. What's happening among the people? What's the temperature among the people in Trinidad?
People are going about their business as usual. That U.S. Embassy statement was very unusual because, they were telling its citizens not to go near the U.S. Embassy, but that was over the weekend. The embassy would have been closed in any case. There is no other U.S. building or facility. I mean, there's the ambassador's residence where people don't go there usually. And they're constructing a new embassy. But that's a construction site, which is, off limits unless you're a construction worker. So really don't know what that was, unless it was just to create some confusion in the, in the population of Trinidad and Tobago. The government didn't give any clear statement in response to that. The acting commissioner of police said there's nothing really to be concerned about, although he said the police are on a heightened state of alert. But the point is we are under a state of public emergency, have been so for the last 5 months anyways, or 3 months. So in any case, there's the police and the defense force are active, but that is to deal with the suppression of crime and gangs and seizing guns and whatever else they could seize that is illegal. So there was some concern about that, obviously, because, rumors start and speculation starts, which is very unfortunate. But, people now put that behind them and have gone about their activities as usual. I expect tomorrow, the first working day after the long weekend, things will be quite normal in the country.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to stay with you a little bit, and I asked the two gentlemen to just hang on a bit, so that he could go back to his celebrations. But, sir, when you read what's happening on social media, and I speak to my friends in Trinidad, there's such a divide as to there are people who are in agreement with the prime minister, in publicly supporting the U.S. in what they're doing, because she believes it's going to benefit Trinidad. That you've had a tough time with organized crime, with drugs, and so your prime minister, she's a tough woman, firm, and she believes that this is going to help the country, and she's thinking of Trinidad first. There's some in the in CARICOM, they believe that your prime minister is pulling away from CARICOM. She's not, in fact, the other day it was said that she was the only person who did not sign what they call it now. It's a
CARICOM statement. Those are
CARICOM statement.
Those
yes.
are statements issued following an emergency CARICOM heads of government meeting, which meeting should have taken place months ago, incidentally. And we think that the general mobilization that we started as the Assembly of Caribbean People, where we got people in many CARICOM countries and outside of CARICOM as well, to make statements and or take actions of one kind or the other, helped to highlight this issue and force CARICOM to meet, because CARICOM hadn't met since the deployment of troops in the Southern Caribbean by the U.S. So our public civic action, social movements action, we think caused CARICOM to have a meeting, and they reaffirmed the CARICOM position, which is a long-standing position that the region should be a zone of peace. Trinidad and Tobago reserved this position. That was not surprising. Yes, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago said Trinidad and Tobago first, but the point is that if you look at our exports, outside of our energy exports, ammonia, methanol, urea, natural gas, LNG, and so on, outside of our energy hydrocarbon exports, the largest single component of our export earnings comes from selling to manufactured goods to CARICOM. And Gerald and Terry will know that very well. You go in the supermarkets in Grenada. I was in Grenada not too long ago, or in Barbados or wherever. And when you go in the supermarkets, what do you see? You see Trinidad and Tobago manufactured products. So Trinidad and Tobago first is not cannot be an isolationist position. It has to be a position in recognition of the fact that we are part of CARICOM and that our participation actively in CARICOM in all of its affairs is central to the development of Trinidad and Tobago, to employment, to earning of foreign exchange and everything else, as well as the well-being of the entire region. So to try and say Trinidad and Tobago first and CARICOM second really is a foolish statement. It makes no sense. So that's what I want to say in regard to that. Now, yes, the population is divided, obviously, because the political supporters of the government will support the position taken by the Prime Minister. But there's a large body of opinion in the country that does not agree with that position, because Trinidad and Tobago, like most of the CARICOM countries, and GERALD was describing some of that, have had a long history of taking positions that are non-aligned, that are independent of any superpower position, and that we take those positions on the basis of well-established principles of international relations, namely that you don't interfere in the internal affairs of another sovereign state, and you must respect the sovereignty of another state, and so on. And we have taken foreign policy positions, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, Jamaica, Barbados, as early as '73, when we recognized Cuba, which was at the height of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was just a few years or a few months after the Cuban Missile Crisis, so-called. We recognized Cuba, and only Mexico in this hemisphere had recognized Cuba at that time. So even though that was in direct conflict with the foreign policy of the United States, we had the position that we're doing what is right in principle. When we supported the struggle against apartheid in South Africa, Reagan was president of the United States, Thatcher was prime minister of Britain, and other countries in Western Europe were supporting the racist apartheid regime. But we took that position because it was the right thing to do. It was a position of principle. Similarly with Palestine, all CARICOM countries recognize Palestine. That's contrary to the position of the United States, and so on. They've condemned the genocide, which is contrary to the position of complicity by the United States with the genocide of Palestinian people. So there's no reason why we cannot take an independent foreign policy position, even as we maintain relations with the United States and other countries of the world. That is what we must do. And that is, I think, that is a view that is held by a large body of people in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have been raising this issue publicly. And of course, there's a lot of debate and so on. And there'll continue to be debate. The thing is that the killing of people on boats in the Southern Caribbean by the US is illegal. It's against international law. It's a war crime, because even in war between two countries, if you capture enemy soldiers, you can't put them against a wall and execute them by firing squad. That's a war crime. It goes against the Geneva Conventions and other war conventions and so on. So the United States can't bomb a boat and kill people on board and claim that is part of the war against narco-terrorism. It's an affront to the whole notion of the rule of law. Those are extrajudicial killings, and we must not condone them, whether you're prime minister or not. We cannot condone extrajudicial killings, because if they get away with it on sea, then they could very well come into our territories and kill somebody and say, well, they were going after a narco-terrorist. Where do we draw the line? The line must be drawn where international law stands. Those are extrajudicial killings, which is not to say that we are in any way in support of narco trafficking or human trafficking or trafficking of arms. But the fact of the matter is that the majority of drugs that come out of cocaine, that come out of Latin America, South America, don't transit through the Eastern Caribbean. The majority of it, 80-something%, goes via the Pacific through Ecuador, from Colombia to Ecuador, and up the Pacific into the United States. Another sizable amount transits through the Western Caribbean, through countries of Central America and so on. Only 5% of the cocaine coming out of Colombia transits through Venezuela, which about half is captured by the Venezuelans. And then, so about 2.5% actually may get to Trinidad and Tobago or to Grenada, St. Vincent.
But can I ask you there,
North America? Yeah.
Doctor, not Doctor, Mr. Abdullah, but your Prime Minister said that since this operation, the military operation has started, that she's seen a reduction in the violent crimes and drugs and etc. in Trinidad. Are you saying that is not the case, because you're saying it wasn't even coming to Trinidad in the first place?
No, drugs do come into Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not saying they don't come in. So there is a problem of trafficking.
No, I meant the route from Venezuela. Go ahead.
Drugs do come in. Cocaine does get into Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is a transshipment point. But the point I'm making is that the vast majority of the cocaine out of South America does not come this way. It goes via the Pacific, through Ecuador and via the Pacific. And then another part goes through the Western Caribbean, not through the Eastern Caribbean. I'm not suggesting by any means that cocaine is not trafficked into Trinidad and Tobago, because there are seizures of cocaine here, and there is a criminal network in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not denying that whatsoever. But there are 2 points. Firstly, the murder rate is lower this year, but it is not because of the US boat strikes. It is because of 2 states of emergency. One was declared last year, December, by the previous government, which ran for 3.5 months. And then a second one was declared, when was that? In June, was it? And July, and is running until October, the end of this month. And those 2 states of emergency have enabled the security services to detain a lot of people, including alleged gang leaders and so on, and suppress the murders and the crime. That is what has caused, that is the principal reason why the murder rate has gone down. Incidentally, since the boat strikes, there's been a spike in murders in Trinidad in the last 2 weeks. Yes, with 10 people getting killed over not this weekend, but the previous weekend. So that's conflating 2 completely different things by the Prime Minister, unfortunately. And yes, there needs to be greater drug interdiction, but that drug interdiction must be by way of law enforcement, not by way of 8 destroyers with guided missile capabilities on nuclear submarine, B-52 bombers and F-35 fighter jet stationed in Puerto Rico, and 10,000 troops. You don't need that to take out some small fishing boats or some speedboats with some outboard engines. That is, those kinds of military assets are not meant for drug interdiction. The Coast Guard vessels are, and if the United States wants to work with, and there is collaboration between all CARICOM countries and the United States, and not only the US and the British and the French and the Dutch, who have colonies in this region. And there's collaboration, there are joint naval exercises, joint intelligence sharing. There are DEA agents in Guyana, in Grenada, in Barbados, in Trinidad and Tobago. In every CARICOM country, there are DEA agents and ATF agents and so on. And there's collaboration, there's shared intelligence, and there people are extradited from Trinidad and Tobago and elsewhere to the United States for drug charges and drug running charge and gun running charges and so on. So there is collaboration. So if we want to deal with the narco trafficking, then all we have to do is strengthen the law enforcement agencies' capacity of our countries and the US in dealing with that. And the guns that are being used by the gangs to kill our people, those guns come from the United States. So the United States has to encircle Miami and Florida and wherever else and stop the guns from getting into our countries, because those guns, the AR-15s and everything, come out of the US. That's where they come from. They don't come primarily from Venezuela. Some do, but the major shipment of guns come out of the US and so on. So those are the things that we have to discuss in a very real way. Yeah.
Well, I mean, quite interesting. Thank you for that clarification. But I just have two quick questions for you before you go. I know the road to getting cold. You don't want to eat it cold at all.
I've eaten already. Don't worry. I ate.
You've eaten already. Yes. You've eaten already.
I have to go and engage with my host.
Yes, yes. So just another 4 minutes or so. I want to know seriously. David Abdullah, tell me, are Trinidadians really worried about, military strikes hitting them, that they get in the crossfire with Venezuela, Trinidad? Are they really concerned about this, or is people just, getting super excited? Is there a true concern?
There is a true concern. 2 Trinidadians were killed on one of those boats
So it is a real concern for you.
So yes, so the families of those two men who were killed. Now I don't know what they were doing, whether they were doing something illegal or whether they were just trying to get back home. Why did they have to get back home that way? You know, obviously they left Trinidad illegally and were coming back in illegally. But I don't know what they were doing, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat what they may have been doing. But the fact of the matter is that they were killed extrajudicially, which is wrong. Yes. The second point is that if the United States attacks Venezuela militarily, there's going to be an exodus of Venezuelans because Venezuela will be destabilized in terms of public safety, in terms of the economy will be destabilized and much more. And therefore, wherever there's war, as you have seen in Libya, and Gerald was talking about it, or Syria, or anywhere else, Ukraine, what happens immediately afterwards? You get people seeking to get out of the war zone, to migrate, right? And the closest point for them to migrate, well, there are two. There's Guyana by land and Trinidad by sea. Yes, because we are 8 miles away from Venezuela. That's half an hour on a pirogue, right? So the point is that if there's war, then there will be fallout in Trinidad and Tobago. But not only in Trinidad and Tobago, the entire region will be destabilized. Colombia will be destabilized. And you could see the US president attacking the president of Colombia, calling him a major drug baron or whatever he's calling him, and so on. So Colombia will be destabilized. The entire Caribbean and the northern part of Latin America, South America will be destabilized, Central America. And what does that mean? It means our economies will be impacted. Our capacity to deal with the social crisis will be impacted. All kinds of negative things will be happening. And therefore, that is why we restate emphatically, as CARICOM did, that they reaffirmed the position that the Caribbean should be a zone of peace. They said some other things that were soft, but at least finally they came out with a position which Trinidad and Tobago does not agree with. But many of us insist that we must remain a zone of peace, and we continue to campaign on this issue.
Yes, sir. Now, and I want to commend the organization that you're all part of, which is it's called the Committee of the Assembly of Caribbean People, or right? That's it. The Committee of the Assembly of Caribbean People.
The Assembly of Caribbean People. Yes.
People. Well, the very last question. Okay, go ahead quickly.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. You go ahead.
But my very last question to you is: do you think that there will be a fallout, with in terms of CARICOM, in that Trinidad is taking such a stark, a different position? Because Trinidad is basically saying this is not really a zone of peace with all of the organized crime that is going on. And a statement was just issued by all the other Caribbean CARICOM members stating it is a zone of peace. Will there be a fallout? Well, what happens when Trump gets up and goes? Will Trinidad, will it ever be made whole again?
Yes, and the greatest fracture, we've had fractures in CARICOM before. There was a fracture around 2019, 2020, when Trump was president, and he convened a meeting of some CARICOM leaders and himself at his resort in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, and a number of CARICOM countries, Guyana, I think, St. Lucia at the time, on the Chastity, Jamaica, and Haiti, joined the Lima Group, which was a group within the OAS to try to create the conditions for the ouster of President Maduro. And that failed. Other CARICOM countries opposed that. And in fact, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago at the time was very critical of the Secretary General of the OAS, Luis Almagro. So that was one moment of fracture. But the worst moment of fracture happened in Grenada in October 1983.
Yes.
When after the assassination of Morris and Jackie Kreft and Unison Whiteman, Fitzroy Bain, Norris Bain, Vincent Dwell, and others, CARICOM met in an emergency session right here in Trinidad at the Trinidad Hilton, because the chair of CARICOM at the time just happened to be Prime Minister George Chambers. And at that CARICOM meeting, and I went to that CARICOM meeting to deliver a resolution from the union, which I was then one of the leaders of, the Office Workers Trade Union, calling on CARICOM to not support any U.S. military intervention and calling on CARICOM to have its own initiative. And the 4 CARICOM leaders, the Prime Minister of Belize, George Price, Prime Minister of Bahamas, Lyndon Pindling, Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister George Chambers, and the President of Guyana, Forbes Burnham, stood resolutely that there must be no U.S. intervention, and they had gotten consensus, although they sought, of CARICOM for a CARICOM initiative which would have gone in, not a military initiative, but a political initiative to deal with Hudson Austin and Bernard Cord and the others, Selvin Strawn and the others, to get them to step down from, what was it, Terry? RMC, Revolutionary Military Council, I think it was, that they called themselves at that time, and to facilitate a transition arrangement, which CARICOM would have helped to facilitate. And while that meeting was going on at the Hilton, Eugenia Charles, Tom Adams of Barbados, and Eddie Siaga of Jamaica were slipping out of the room and talking to the U.S. State Department. And then Eugenia flew out of Trinidad, went to Washington, and stood next to Ronald Reagan to endorse, on behalf of the OECS countries, the invasion of Grenada. And that fractured CARICOM very, very badly. And it really took about 8 to 10 years before CARICOM got back a semblance of unity. That was the worst fracture. We hope that we don't get a similar kind of fracture, because that will not be good for any of our individual countries or for the region as a whole. I have hope that we will not get to the point where we were in October of '83.
Of 83. Thank you so very much, Mr. Abdullah. And I'm going to let you go and tell your guests many, many thanks. And I trust you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Diwali evening.
Thank you very much, Marcia, and Terry and Gerald. Good seeing you guys.
Yes.
Stay in touch.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. Thank you. Very informative. Gentlemen, thank you for being so patient. I had to honor that, and to make sure that he's able to enjoy his holiday. But if you would just give me another 30 minutes so that we can, I want to get through we want to touch on some particular areas. So we're going to give quick answers because we kind of gave the history already, right? So want to be able to just give some quick answers so the discussion can move ahead. So I want to go to Dr. Gerald PERREIRA. I want to ask you concerning CARICOM. Do you think that CARICOM has the teeth to deal with Donald Trump and the U.S.? Because yes, the agreement is made. I'm hearing from David that it took a while for them to actually meet. They met and there's an agreement and they've made a declaration that this is a zone of peace. But do they have the teeth and the gumption to stand up to President Trump?
Well, collectively, we're seeing that CARICOM is weak. I mean, I must salute Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves for the position he has taken, and Prime Minister Gaston Browne in Antigua and Barbuda. But I just want to say this. At the end of the day, I believe, as my brother Terry pointed out, it is the people, the masses, the people across the region, the citizens of CARICOM. They have to come out. They have to hit the street in their thousands and send a message to Trump. I think that the fundamental contradiction here is between our countries trying to preserve our independence and our sovereignty, although this is being trampled upon before us. Because I like to point out that if you study the Monroe Doctrine carefully, the United States has never, ever taken the sovereignty and independence of the countries in their so-called backyard seriously. They don't. And that is why they're so much opposed and are hostile to Cuba. The hostility to Cuba has nothing to do with communism. Cuba could have been capitalist, but because Cuba is fiercely nationalistic and takes its independence and sovereignty seriously, they go after Cuba. I mean, the legal sanctions and blockade. What I'm saying is this. I'm going to be specific here. The Prime Minister of Trinidad and the President of Guyana are taking orders. I'm convinced about this, are being bullied, taking orders from Washington. Some senior CARICOM diplomats told me that when Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves was organizing the meeting between President Ali and President Maduro for that meeting at Argyle in St. Vincent,
yes,
there was tremendous pressure that was being put on Prime Minister Gonsalves and Prime Minister Skerrit of Dominica not to bring off that meeting, not to facilitate that meeting. When President Ali signed the agreement, before he could land at the airport in Guyana, there was a British warship heading to Guyana. I mean, you just don't do that. It shows that there are powers who do not respect our independence and our sovereignty, and they trample on it. I honestly believe, and we have enough information for that the United States is feeding both the Trinidadian government and the Guyana government, primarily the Guyana government, misinformation on Venezuela. The Venezuelan ambassador to Guyana pointed out in an interview in the Stabrook News that there's tremendous misinformation being peddled about Venezuela. Because as Kwame Ture said, you know Kwame Ture, formerly Stokely Carmichael, who developed the concept of black power.
From Trinidad,
Yes, he said the Americans' imperialism does not lie sometimes, it lies all the time. Now, if we are talking about the war on drugs, now look at the history. Since Vietnam, United States, this is well documented. Michael Parenti, Noam Chomsky, American scholars, it's well documented. The United States Air Force used planes to carry drugs to support the client regime in South Vietnam. The United States, look at the Oliver North case, where the United States used the proceeds, the U.S. intelligence agencies used the proceeds from the drug trade to finance the Contras in Honduras, or the border of Honduras, to destabilize the Sandinista government during the period of Ronald Reagan. Most of the drugs that, as Brother Abdallah rightly pointed out, does not come from Venezuela. He identified the areas exactly. Now, President Petro said that when he was carrying as a congressman, when he was carrying the fight as an opposition politician, he was carrying the fight against senators and congressmen who were being backed by the drug cartels. They wanted to kill him. And yet, when he went to the UN, Trump decertified him and said he cannot return to the United States. He would not be given a visa. But those who are facilitating the drug trade, you are in bed with them, because the right-wing death squads, the paramilitary death squads in Colombia, worked with the Colombian Armed Forces and with the CIA. You know, this is well documented. So this thing about the war on drugs or destroying these little
I can see you totally don't believe that. But there's something that you said, and I want to bring Dr. MARRYSHOW into this conversation. Dr. MARRYSHOW, Dr. PERREIRA said something very interesting. He said, I asked him whether the CARICOM leaders, whether they have the teeth to go, to go after, to deal with President Trump. And he said he didn't think so. However, he's calling on the people of the region to rise up, to go out in the streets, pour out in the streets, march, and to stand up. I am seeing in Grenada, you're saying that the people in Grenada, they are totally against your airport being used, for any military purposes by the Trump administration. But we're not hearing anything from your prime minister, your leader. Can you explain? Am I wrong in saying that probably a statement was made by the government? Let me not just say the leader, by the government, and I didn't hear it. It's very possible. So please clarify that. And if no statement was made, what impact is that having on the people of Grenada? Okay, Okay,
We
go
know that
start.
a request has been made.
Can you start over, please? Can you repeat? Because you were muted for a while. Go right ahead now, sir.
I said a request has been made of the government. And all the government did was put out a statement saying that this request has been made and they are in fact studying it and weighing it. And they have not given a definitive response to that request. So we don't know what is taking place with that. Added to that, the Prime Minister himself has been touring African countries. He was in Nigeria.
He's in Ghana right now.
Then he went from Nigeria to Ghana, and that's where he seems to be spending a lot of his time lately. Now, a matter of such grave importance would have necessitated cutting short a trip like that and coming home, I think if you're a serious politician and you see the kind of pressure that's being put on the country at this time, I think it is sufficiently urgent that he should have really come home and dealt with this. Up to now, no statement has been put out, except the fact that they told us that the request has been made and they're going to be weighing it and what have you. But when you talk about CARICOM having the teeth, CARICOM could have the teeth if we had a real united front. But when you have betrayals like Kamala Prasad Bisesa, who's a real disgrace to the spirit and the treaties of Shagaramas, the same Shagaramas that used to be a military base.
But she's taking care of it. She said she's looking after her country first.
Yeah, she's looking after our country first. But that's the whole spirit of CARICOM. When Forbes Burnham of Guyana, Errol Barrow of Barbados, and Michael Manley of Jamaica came together in 1972 and made that first statement that the Caribbean should be respected as a zone of peace. This is an ideal that we have to continue to strive for and to follow. And when someone like the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago comes out and says, it is not a zone of peace. Maybe, so it's not for her. But by and large, the Caribbean has been a pretty, relatively stable region for all intents and purposes. It was only the peace whenever it is disturbed is only disturbed by the United States. Yes. We don't have wars among ourselves, except for the colonial period when there were colonial wars and so on for territory. In modern times, our region has never been disturbed except by the United States. We saw it in 1915 when they invaded Haiti and stayed about 30-something years. We saw it also with the Bay of Pigs in 1962. And then we saw it again in 1983. It has always been disturbed by the United States, but among ourselves, we are a zone of peace. And if they don't disturb that peace, I think we could say that we are a zone of peace. Quite contrary to what the Prime Minister of Trinidad is saying. She has her own internal problems. They traditionally have had problems in Trinidad when it comes to drug trafficking and all of that. That is their responsibility and their law enforcement capability to resolve that problem. That is not the job of the United States or CARICOM to resolve that. Every state has to institute methods and deal with the problem in the best way they can. We know sometimes it's inadequate, but that's because we are still underdeveloped. We still have a big problem. But a lot of that same drugs, come from the region. Some of that drugs even come from the United States. The arms that the violence that we're seeing in the region right now has a lot to do with the arms that, as David mentioned, it
Yes.
comes by and large from the United States. So they're the ones that continue to destabilize us, not respecting our sovereignty or independence and territorial integrity, for the only reason that they have done traditionally, which is to control us,
Yeah.
to control us.
But let me
And let
ask
us
you.
not be, you know, as I said before, today's Maduro, it was Guyana one time, as Dr. Pereira was saying. You know, so they have no interest in democracy. They have no interest in really fighting drug trafficking. America is all about quote unquote interests, strategic interests. That's all they're concerned about.
Yes.
And what we want is Venezuela's oil. We know that for a fact. And they will do anything to destabilize that. It's the same playbook. It's the same worn out and tried and tested playbook that they have used to demonize a leader, demonize the policies of the country, say that every election is rigged. Once it is a country that has a socialist leaning or a leader that espouses any kind of socialist rhetoric, they get after you at all costs. Not recognizing even that many of the European countries are socialist in a real way. They don't
Right.
attack them, but the best countries in the world that people say are the best countries to live in, like Denmark, Switzerland, Sweden, all of these countries, they have socialist tendencies as well. You know, a lot of their
Yes.
education is
But they're
okay.
saying it's unfair what they're doing. But let me ask you something. Someone is saying here that the Grenada PM held a Zoom meeting with CARICOM heads to discuss the U.S. request. But I think what Dr. MARRYSHOW is speaking of is addressing Grenadians, because it is, I mean, this is an emotional moment, I think, for Grenadians because of what happened with Maurice Bishop, and the feeling that, and I can understand that he probably could cut the trip short and to come home to speak directly to his people. So that a Zoom meeting to CARICOM is very different from what I think Dr. MARRYSHOW is speaking of. But Dr. MARRYSHOW, let me ask you, you know, I hear what the people are saying. And I kind of like what Dr. Pereira saying, you know, let the people rise up, get in the streets. I love that. But what's going to happen to Grenada, you think? What if Grenada says no? What are the possibilities that could happen to Grenada? And will CARICOM be able to back Grenada if there are consequences?
That is questionable. Let me say it also that had this request come during the period of the revolution, we know what that answer was going to be. There's no question that would have been a resounding no. We're never going to tolerate anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But because things have changed over the years, the Americans invaded, they imposed their philosophy on us, because there's a statement that one made sometimes, you know, that when a country is invaded, the philosophy of the country becomes the philosophy of the invader. So they now figure they could do whatever they want in Grenada. And it's interesting that right now in Grenada, they putting on a kind of pressure that we've never seen in quite a while. They first started with banning the fishing imports into the United States by, you know, the tuna fishermen, knowing that that is the lifeline.
When did that start with Dr. MARRYSHOW?
That started a month ago.
Really?
And on the guys that Grenada is supporting whaling, that is not true at all. You know? Then they followed this with the attack of the Cuban medical brigades in Grenada, calling it human trafficking. You know, people have been providing humanitarian assistance to the country since 1983 to the present. Have been touted now as human traffickers, you know, and as if they're concerned about that, you know, Cubans are, according to them, underpaid and exploited and all that. They're never concerned about Cubans generally. But now to deal with this issue and make us look as if we engage in something, knowing full well that what they're really getting at is trying to destabilize Cuba, because that's one of the few ways that Cuba expresses its solidarity and also gets a little bit of income to help their country, because they have brought them out of everything by putting them on this state sponsors this is a state sponsor of terrorism, which they know is not
Right.
true.
So
Americans
you're
have the
you're
most.
saying that the US has been targeting you guys now for a while. I think there's something
Yeah,
having to do with the CBI and your and visas and so on for Grenada.
right.
Did I read that correctly?
They took away out of all the ministers in the region who have pronounced against the U.S. interference in the Cuban Medical Brigade um, cooperation with the region. The only person that we know in the region that has lost his visa, whose visa was revoked, was our Minister of Finance, Dennis Cornwall.
Oh
And
wow.
following that, now we come with this request for the radar equipment to be installed on Ponce Lanes at the Bishop International Airport. So
Okay. So
we,
so
we,
so you
there's
have
a
to
kind
get
of
ready because huh?
there's a
Go
kind
ahead.
of unnatural pressure that they're putting on Grenada. For what reason? I don't know. Of course, we know what it is. It's to create a wedge between Grenada and the people who help us. You know, the people who have traditionally, again, helped us and go out of their way to help us are people like Cuba and Venezuela. And they want to put a wedge between that and try to use this whole pressure now on Grenada to change the vote in the United Nations when it comes up again in the next General Assembly. They want to make sure that the countries of the region, they put in a lot of pressure right now. You'll hear about this sooner or later, but we have gotten word that right here in Grenada, they're in the process now of pressuring the government so that when the vote comes up in the General Assembly to vote for or against the economic blockade that the criminal economic blockade that the United States has imposed on Cuba, that they will get countries voting along with them. When when you look at the record in the United Nations, the only two countries that vote against the blockade. Some have stayed, but only two vote for the United States, which is the United States itself and Israel. So all of this is pressure. There's never a dull moment, and we know there's always sinister motives behind everything that they do. You know, they never treat us in a way that they respect us as sovereign, independent countries. And they only intervene when it suits their interests. There's never in our interest. So if Guyana wants to be fooled by the United States, they better not be, because, as I said, today's Maduro, tomorrow it could be Guyana again. Once, they see that their interests are not being satisfied.
Let me bring in Dr. Gerald in this conversation here. You said something that you got Grenada has allies, Cuba, Venezuela, and I know I've read that you have some you've done some you have some connections there with Russia. You can correct me on that, but that's what I've read. So let me, Dr. Perreira, what is going to happen in the Caribbean? Because when you look at Jamaica has so many so much of its infrastructure is made by China and partly owned by China. Barbados, great. I mean, lots of alignment. Lots of Chinese are living in Barbados, living in Antigua, all throughout the region, and we know that this is about geopolitics as well. It's about them having control over the full Western Hemisphere, the U.S. So what do you think? What is going to happen as it relates to that? Because we are so already aligned to China.
Before I get to the issue about the role of China in the region, I would like to add something that my brother Terry mentioned, because the last time I saw Terry was many moons ago in Libya, where I resided. And, the people of the region need to understand this. And Terry pointed that out. And I keep saying this, we keep saying this in the Organization for the Victory of People. Henry Kissinger said America has no permanent friends and no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. He said this.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's get an example of that. You remember this, I just want to go off because this is a pattern now. People need to understand this. When they started going after Gaddafi, the big lie was that Gaddafi was killing his people. Yet Gaddafi and his forces fought on for 9 months. 9 months. And there was no popular uprising in Libya. Had there been a popular uprising in Libya, Gaddafi would have gone the same way Mubarak went in less than 21 days, and Zainuddin Ben Ali went in less than 2 weeks in Tunisia. Gaddafi went on for 9 to 10 months fighting. They knew, that's why they rushed through the resolution. They went in there and they bombed and they bombed and they bombed. Gaddafi told the world, he said, I'm fighting Al-Qaeda. Many of us, many, not me, they grinned their face. They grinned and say, yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, have you noticed, my dear sister and brother, you would have noticed this. 2 years of genocide by the racist apartheid state of Israel against the Palestinian people. Since that genocide began 2 years ago, have you heard anything from Al-Qaeda? Have you heard anything from ISIS? Nothing. Why did this ISIS or Al-Qaeda go and attack Israeli targets or US targets? None. Why?
Right.
Because they were created by the West to destabilize and overthrow revolutionary nationalist regimes. Gaddafi said that if in Libya collapse, they're going after Africa. What is happening in the Sahel countries now of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali? The armed group, the pseudo-Islamic jihadist groups that created by the Israelis, the Americans, the French, and even the Turks and some Gulf states are in the Sahel destabilizing that region. So we need to understand that these people are not, when the United States, and now France is in Guyana, the French are saying, oh, Guyana, we are going to help you with surveillance equipment and all that so that we can pick up on Venezuela. The French that were just kicked out of the Sahel and no longer have access to the resources that they were plundering in those countries are now in Guyana. So now suddenly they're allies of Guyana. But let me tell you what is happening. We had a solidarity march for Palestine. And part of we all agreed that we were going to march past the US Embassy. And the police said we cannot march past the US Embassy. That instructions came from the top level, right? And it came from outside. The Americans told the government of Guyana to instruct the police not to let us march past the US Embassy. Now, I am a citizen of a sovereign and independent country, at least on paper. Brother Abdullah pointed out something that can happen. You're blowing up boats and saying that these boats are carrying drugs and they're drug traffickers. Tomorrow, where is this going to stop? Where will this stop? They can use drones, and Trump is going there because Trump, listen to his language. He's talking about kill this one and kill this one. That's how he's talking. So he can drone us out. Where is this going? Where is this heading? Maybe in what? We're just going to sit down and allow this to happen? Because as thought leaders, as influencers and political leaders, we can be taken out too. We will be categorized as terrorists. Look at the 400 students who graduated from Columbia University, earned bachelor's, master's, and doctorates, and were prevented from getting their degrees all because they sang from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, and march against Palestine. So what we are seeing in this region is naked fascism. This is Hitlerian. You only have to see how the ICE agents are behaving in the States. There's no difference from Hitler Gestapo. So as Brother MARRYSHOW mentioned, they're going to go to the UN and bully our diplomats and tell them how to vote. And at the end of the day, we, the masses, have to stand up. If Trump is going to make this place, turn it into a war zone, we will have to make our cities ungovernable for our neo-colonial elites who are not leaders who are committed to genuine social transformation. They're happy to be overseers of our little neo-plantations, whether it's Guyana or what. That is what they happen. Our independence is not substantial. We have flag and anthem independence.
Right. But I want to pause you there because I want to get back to this. You didn't get a chance yet to let us talk in the last couple of minutes that we have here. I want to go, if you allow me, at least 7 minutes because I need to talk about China. Yeah. I need to, because I was watching. I think there was a a briefing that was done in 2023, but let me read it here. A recent U.S. Southern Command briefing reveals that Washington now views Latin America and the Caribbean as a direct extension of its homeland. General Laura J. Richardson, that's when she was general, head of Southcom, described the region as linked to the U.S. national security and central to America's competition with China, Russia, Venezuela, and Cuba. Listen again. Central to America's competition with China, Russia, Venezuela, and Cuba. This means our islands are no longer seen as neutral spaces, but as a front line in a new hemispheric conflict. And their objective, the United States defined the Western Hemisphere as its security backyard. It aims to secure lithium, copper, rare earth minerals, and the Amazon, and to maintain control of shipping lanes from Panama Canal to the Caribbean Sea. Richardson said plainly that there's no other hemisphere linked to our homeland like this one. China's Belt and Road projects in the Caribbean and Latin America are called extraction and investment by the U.S. 5 Chinese state-owned companies already control key facilities along the Panama Canal, and the U.S. sees this as a strategic threat. Richardson warned that China is on the 20-yard line to our homeland. And I think we can't have this discussion, gentlemen, if we don't discuss China, because it seems to me that really, that is really what this is all about. It's about them having, this territory that, China, for years, it was always the Caribbean and the U.S. And now, we have China. We have our buses in Barbados say China on them. You see the big China on the buses. China building our railroads, building our roadways. China building our schools. China in charge of building up our agriculture sector. China everywhere. So what do we say about that? What are we going to do?
Let me just
let MARRYSHOW go ahead, and then yes.
The genie is out of the bottle where China is concerned. The U.S. is becoming desperate because the U.S. right now is an empire that is in decline. There's no question about that. And because of their neglect of the region, when there's a vacuum anywhere, the vacuum that they themselves created, because all they did in Latin America and the Caribbean were funded real right-wing governments and overthrowing governments and all of that, and never really made a direct contribution to the economies of these countries.
Right.
All the refugees that are running to the United States are running to the United States because the conditions are so dire in their own countries that they look into the north because it is touted as the land of milk and honey and everything nice. Now, if the United States had invested in these countries over the years in a serious way, built up their infrastructure, made serious investments into the region that would benefit people, the people remain in their countries and not go anywhere else. They wouldn't migrate to the north, so they would never have that refugee problem. Now, that vacuum that they have created is being filled by China, not only in Latin America and the Caribbean. You go to America and every single thing you buy these days, when you look at where it is made in China. They have outsourced all of the jobs to China with of course, the objective of exploiting cheap labor so that they could get rich. That the companies have gotten really rich from exploiting cheap labor. But in the process of doing all of that, the Chinese weren't stupid. They assimilated and inculcated a lot of the technology and so on that was transferred to them. And I know the leading industrial country in the world, where everybody depends on them pretty much. So you can't stop them now. They're already in the region, unless you want to go into a war with them. But the difference between what the Chinese are doing and what Americans have done over the years is that the Chinese are not coming with bombs. They're not coming and bomb up your country and force you to get into economic arrangements with them. They are coming and they're helping. If you want their help, you accept it. It's up to you. You are a sovereign country. They're not forcing you to take it. But make sure that if you take it, just like how the commercial banks deal with you, if you get into an arrangement with them and you can't pay the mortgage on your house or the payments on your car, they repossess. I don't see anything different with that. So you can't blame them if they come into the region and fill in the void that the Americans themselves have created.
But somebody, people will say, Dr. MARRYSHOW and Dr. PERREIRA, that we've kind of just moved from masters, neo-colonial masters. We as somebody says, neither U.S. nor Chinese imperialism serves the interests of the Caribbean and Latin American region and its people. So, Dr. PERREIRA, listen, we're going to have to come back and talk about this. Sure. But can I have your final comment on this? Because it appears to me that you guys are giving the nod to China and saying, look, it's okay if the Caribbean, probably go to the better of the two evils. It's China, yeah.
Well, I don't agree with that. I fully endorse what my brother Terry said. I fully endorse that. Mm-hmm. And people just toss around terms and words. I do not subscribe to the view that the Chinese are imperialists. Let's look at something. Let's look at something. What is imperialism? We need to understand that imperialism is monopoly capitalism in its highest form. And monopoly capitalism is reinforced by military might, as we see the US do. Chinese are not into that. What is also important to note is that China, the Chinese civilization, China never had ships going to Africa, capturing Africans and built their countries on it. China was never involved in the trade in captured Africans and the enslavement of them. The Western Europe, the European countries, not the Eastern, the Western Europe and the United States was built on colonial genocide and the trade in captured Africans. It laid the material basis for capitalist development in the West, as Walter Rodney pointed out in How Europe
we have, unfortunately, we have 1 minute. We have 1 minute.
The Chinese policy is this: irrespective of your size and wealth, China deals with you as a sovereign and independent state.
Not interfering.
We talk for the past 35 years, we were talking about globalization, and the ideology driving globalization is the neoliberal ideology. As my brother pointed out, the US empire is in decline, and they are becoming more vicious. They want a war with China. China doesn't come in and tell us how. When China give us loans, they do not tell us how to utilize those loans, and they do not impose conditions on us or conditionalities. Like, for example, that they did to some countries. They want to give loans to Africa. You have to accept the LGBTQ agenda. You have to accept this and that. The Chinese don't do that. The Chinese respect your sovereignty and your independence. So when we deal with the Chinese, is on a win-win basis. Mia yourself said what she got from the Chinese, you couldn't get from the IMF or the Americans.
Yeah, but let me say to you, gentlemen, I think to me this discussion, Dr. MARRYSHOW, if you have to promise me that you guys will come back, because I think we need to look at this China issue. And I'm gonna keep in touch with you all, because we really need to decide. It seems to me, from talking even to my 22-year-old young people that I deal with, they are choosing China. It's almost like we want China, we don't want America. So we really need to, is it that the Caribbean has now decided we do not want America, we want China? Is that what it is? But I don't know. But let's have a discussion about it. Let me say thank you to the both of you. This feels like we're ending prematurely.
Thank you.
But I have another guest. But thank you so much for enlightening us, Dr. PERREIRA, about really what's happening in Guyana, and giving us the history. You gave us a lot of history tonight. Dr. MARRYSHOW, you gave us the history on Grenada as well, and why the people there are saying no. And we are still wondering, we still need to hear from the leader, from the government, a firm speaking to the people. I'm in agreement with you with that. I definitely am in agreement with you. And so we have to continue this conversation. Thank you very, very much, gentlemen. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yes?
Thank
Bye,
you.
Dr. Ferreira.
All
Yes,
right, my
God
brother.
bless.
Take care. All
Until
the
we
best.
meet again. Until we
Yes.
meet again.
Stay
All right?
safe.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
God bless. Oh my goodness. Listen, I feel like this conversation just got started because I have so many questions for them concerning China. I do not believe I don't know. I'm not about switching from one to the next. But as Dr. Pereira is saying that China is different, we can have that discussion. I'm open to have the discussion. Somebody said Russia and China to the world. Oh my goodness. It's a Caribbean taking sides. Oh boy. Oh Lord. Don't let Trump hear you. Well, folks, we have to take some stuff back home now. Back home. This morning we were home, and I don't know if Dave is there and can put up some pictures for us, but we were at our homes here in Barbados, and we got the news that there was an accident. A bus had turned over at Lester Vaughan School, and that there was mass casualty. This was early morning. I was in the garden, and I got that message. And we have with us Mr. Dale Rowe, and Dale was practically on the scene just after everything unfolded. And Mr. Rowe is here with us this evening. Let me welcome him to the Marcia Week Show. Welcome, Dale. It's great to have you, sir.
Hey, good evening, Marcia. Good evening, viewers. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am doing great, especially after hearing that we did not have any deaths. We had a lot of casualties, but we didn't have any deaths. So I'm going to just allow you to give us a summary of what happened today, and then tell us how you happened to be there.
Yeah, so I know in the news I said 9:45, but in the moment, things were really crazy. So 8:45, we going through kindergarten, and I saw some persons running to the opposite direction. So I told my daughter, well, something is going on. Let's go and check. So we got out the car, and when I get to the junction, I saw all of the students on the ground, a lot of blood. Two residents from the area, a gentleman and a lady. And your head, Mr. Carmichael, and several other teachers left the school, came out to, assist. The guy, he brought at least about 4 sheets. We cut the sheets into small bandages, and myself and other teachers just started to, apply pressure on the wounds, wrap some of the wounds.
So before you go on, there was a lot of, so when you turned up on the scene, describe to us what you saw.
The van turned over. The van overturned, and no other vehicles was involved in the accident. Apparently, the van was off route. The children climbed out of the van. The driver did not assist any of the students at all. The driver got out and walked away from the van. So the persons that were there assisting the students would have been parents, teachers, Lester Vaughan staff, myself and residents from the area. But the person that drove the van, he hopped and just
disappeared.
Yeah.
So is it that the bus, the minibus, it was how many persons were in the bus?
Approximately 25, because when we had when the children came out of the minibus, they sat at the side of the road and we did a head count. And then during that head count, we got 23.
Yes.
And like 10 minutes later, persons brought 2 other students that left the van, went into the school to fit in because those two students were extremely frightened. So they went into the school and told, I didn't even mention anything, but
Oh,
persons would have
wow.
seen. Yeah. So, the teachers brought back those two students and everyone received medical attention. I must say that, the Leicester Vaughan staff were really, really, really good on the ground. Mr. Carmichael, we had Miss Grant. I can't remember everyone's name, but,
Mhm.
staff from Leicester Vaughan, especially deputy principal. Deputy principal she was there from start to end.
Mm.
So fantastic job from the staff, fantastic job from the police service, the ambulance service, the fire service, the
And
soldiers.
everybody did a great job. But let me ask you, so when you got there, the children were thrown out the bus on the on the road, or
Yes.
in the
Yes.
bush? Explain.
So the ZR van overturned,
Yes.
and then the driver, obviously his side was up in the air, so he climbed out, and then other children just had to climb out of the van as well.
Mm-hmm.
All of the children were on the left side of the road sitting, and a lot of blood, children panicking. At least about 3 children fainted. 3 young ladies fainted.
You serious? About what
Yeah.
age? What age were they?
I assume between 12 and 14. Ages of 12 and 14.
Oh my goodness. And they just did, and they were they were watching, or they were in the van.
Some were watching and some were in the van.
And
It was very hard. It was really tough because the teachers came out, and some teachers actually froze. They didn't even know what to do. So thankfully that other persons, Mr. Carmichael, myself, and a couple other persons, we just provided the aid necessary.
yes.
I know a bit about first aid, so seeing the blood, I didn't get scared. I just jumped in and started to work.
So when you got you said they got some sheets. The sheets were to tie so that the blood, so people would stop bleeding.
Stop bleeding, yes. And
Ah.
one 13-year-old, her shoulder dislocated, shoulder cut up, arm bruised up really badly. The bone is showing, cuts in her head. And a teacher, English teacher, very, very nice. She and I were trying to get this young lady calm. So I told the young lady, well, remember, do you have any happy memories from in the vacation? Just think about a happy thought, because those children were really traumatized.
Mm. Oh my God. This is really sad this morning. So you're telling me that the children, so like that so the children would have been out of the van by now, right?
Yes. All of the children were on the side. So those persons here, basically staff of the Leicester Vaughan School, teachers, the groundmen, security, parents, and then you have a couple residents from in the area.
Wow. So children, when the van turned, then children were on top of children.
Yes. All the
Jeez.
glass shatter. So, a lot of children got cut up. Face, hair, head, hands, feet, shoulders dislocated. So as you can see, children sitting on the side of the road.
I can see the socks and so on there. And it's the neighbors. The neighbors ran with sheets.
Yes, please.
Oh my goodness. Ah. Oh gosh, I can just imagine. How about parents? Did parents did the children get to connect with their parents? Because I know a
Yeah.
lot of them probably wouldn't have had cell phones. So
Yeah.
how did they get to their parents? Oh, there's a guy there.
So myself and Mr. Carmichael and several other teachers would have given cell phones to we give the students our phones just to call parents.
Mm.
So, parents received the phone calls there and then. Within 5 minutes, the ambulance service came with about 6 ambulance. Fire service came. So the service, one thing I would say, right, is that our healthcare providers, they really came through for our children today. They really did.
Mm,
Doctors were on the site, nurses were on the site, so things like this showed us that showed me as an individual that we have people in places that really care, but we need to now take it now to another level. We need to protect our children, because this would have put a strain on the healthcare system today.
mm-hmm.
Because shortly after this, they had a murder. So things like this. I don't think that we should be going through this as a country right now.
Mm-hmm.
PSV owners and operators need to be a bit more cognizant. The guys offered the children alcohol, whiskey on the trip this morning.
So how sure are we that happened? You heard the children saying
Yeah,
that?
the children reported it.
The children saying that he
Yeah,
offered them whiskey.
yeah.
Wow.
And he passed the school, went went up to BRC, come round the back, and then as you see, the road is completely dry. He took
Mm-hmm.
the corner a little too fast, and then the van.
Ah. So it is that he okay. Wow. And mhm. Oh goodness. But I mean, the irony of this thing that children are going to school early morning. Not even adults generally would be drinking on a early morning, and you're going to offer children whiskey if it is true, because this is what the children are saying,
Correct.
right? That they were offered whiskey. So I wonder if he was drunk.
I saw a video just now on Instagram right before I logged in, and I was trying to get it downloaded. The video showed the same guy enter the gas station to beat the traffic. Van full with the school children.
Really,
Music.
if you have the video, just send it to me.
I can look for the link. I think I have the link
Yeah,
saved.
just send me the link. And while he's doing that, I just want to say to we want to just send out thoughts and good thoughts and prayers to all the children who were impacted, and their families, the mothers, the fathers, the brothers and sisters. I know tonight you're probably hugging that relative a little closer, hugging your brother a little closer, hugging your child a little closer. Can you imagine your child dress up to go to school, and they have to take the bus, this minibus, to go to school, and the next thing that you hear is a call from probably Dale Rose's phone, because Dale, you were lending the children your phone, right,
Yes.
to call their parents. And did you hear any of the reaction from the parents as they were talking with the children?
One of the parents actually is from the constituency, my constituency, the city. So
Mm-hmm.
the parent was extremely worried about her daughter and then her nephew. So parents were really, really scared. I saw so many parents left work, just to come here. It is unfortunate, but public service vehicles is a public service. These people that are driving it need to understand, you can't be driving the road like this, and you cannot be consuming alcohol so early in the morning, transporting, our children.
Mm-hmm.
It is a Barbadian culture. The van culture is a culture, but
What is the van culture? So let's talk about it, because I think, oh boy, this is a very, very serious thing that happened, and we must let us pause, Dale, and give God thanks that we are not, that these children, they're at the hospital, and they're getting well and getting home to their loved ones. Let's pause, and Father, we thank you that this was not more tragic than it is right now. I don't think Barbados, we can't take anything else. This would have been too tragic for us all. And before we go into dealing with what should be done, etc., Dale, I ask you to come on because I I felt like there is something in you being there and being present when normally you were telling me you don't even go into go to the lesson that early, and I was surprised to see you in a t-shirt. I always see you in a suit.
Yeah.
So I wondered, is there something that you're supposed to say to the country when you were there? What in your mind, in your consciousness, what is it that you think we need to hear at this point? The Barbados needs to hear right now.
Honestly, we as a people, we need to take a moment just to reflect on life and the decisions that we would have made and the journey that we would have came from. And we need to ask ourselves, do we really want our future children to adopt the same principles and standards, or the same policies, or the same exposure or journey that we went through? I don't think that, for me, I caught the van to go to Leicester Vaughan. So the conductor, he was a past student at Leicester Vaughan.
Mm-hmm.
And the culture is still the same. Drinking, smoking, the loud music, the guys, speeding. So we have to be real. But despite that, on the other hand, these other vans also provide a timely service, because when transport board buses can't go to certain areas or are not on time, the same ZR vans and the same minibus also fill that void. So how can we merge both together? I think at this present moment, we can say that the government needs to provide more buses, but I don't think it's a government issue. I think is an issue that we collectively as a people have to come up with a solid solution. Because if we don't change what is currently going on, because look, this is just one secondary school.
Yeah.
This is just one minivan. When I left Leicester Vaughan this morning, I was going down University Hill, and a ZR number 3 van, ready to bully by the lights to overtake 4 cars. So that just happened. And now at the university, that are now leaving there. So what I'm saying is, right, we need to gel the public service and the transport board together to provide a better shuttle service for the children.
Mm-hmm.
So I know the government can't provide buses. So don't even let me start there. Let me look at a solution that can help. These ZRs and the minibuses have a role to play. I believe that we should hold those persons driving those vans accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Point blank. So then on the morning, we can try to shuffle all of the children to the different terminals and allocate these same public service vehicles to shuttle the children to school.
Mm-hmm.
Not under the influence of alcohol, smoke, and the vulgar music, but you could run it like the TAP program. Because remember, the government had a TAP program in COVID. You would bring in your yellow bus, you would register, and then you would get compensation. So we can do a similar program for the shuttle service on the morning, because these ZR vans and these minivans also play a vital role for transporting our people to and fro. So we can say that we want ban school children from public service. I don't think that would make sense. I think we need to merge both together. The police need to then focus more on these ZR vans on the morning and the buses on the morning, as opposed to pulling over vehicles with tin. So let me police things that really need our attention, which is our children.
But Dale, somebody's saying here, and it's a good, they're alleging that most of the ZR vans are owned by Indians and the police. I don't know, but you're talking about supervising and oversight, etc. If it's really by the police, I mean, it should be very easy for them to do that, because if it is true, because it's 25, this is if it is true that there were 25 children in this van that seats, how many persons does it seat?
I usually think these vans seat 15 to 18
15
max.
seater. That's what I think as well. I only ask you, but as far as I know, it's a 15-seater van. So I'm saying, if it is true that it's really owned by, most of the vans are owned by Indians and the police, I think it should be very, very, a no-brainer for them to be able to say to their staff, this is how this is the culture. Then should be easy. It should be very easy to change the culture.
Yeah, they just need to put the correct systems in place. Once we put the right checks and balance in place, we could get the culture curbed, to be honest. Because look, the guy that drove the van this morning, he was not in the proper work attire. He looked like he was going to a fair.
Okay.
He looked like he was dressed for a fair. So I believe that you should have on your full uniform if you're going to do public service work. If you're going to do work and you transporting the public, dress and act like a professional.
Mm-hmm.
So if the PSV operators, they need to put their team through a customer service program, some kind of program to help them to understand, our etiquette program, to help them to understand the do's and don'ts. But we need to put stiff penalties on the drivers and the conductors.
And the owners as well, because if I own a minibus, I am saying, if I own a minivan and you're transporting the public, I believe as the owner that I can set the culture of how my employees, or how my, not necessarily employees, because some of these, they are not necessarily employees. They are working the van for the day and paying. I don't know what you call that arrangement, but
basically contract work.
Contract work. Thank you.
Yeah.
So therefore, you as the owner of the bus, I can set out to say, this is how my bus, how you're going to conduct yourself on my bus. These are the rules. These are the regulations. For you're working on my bus. I think that you can start there as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. But, I agree. And we also need to have a check and balance, because it's okay to say that. I might agree with it. But how many other owners going to agree with it? The owners only care about, I want my 450 when the end of the day come. So yes. The owner don't care how you get it. The owner want 450 at the end of the day.
Which is why I made the point, because I have heard, and again, allegedly, I have heard that some of these owners, they treat these van drivers and conductors like slaves. It's like modern day slavery happening. And whereas we used to have a lot of black people who were owning these vans, that there are lots of Indians that own the vans, and that the work, the pressure that is put on these guys to bring in this 450 and sometimes more. It's why why some of them are being so reckless. You see, so all of that, the pressure, and somebody made a comment on that in the made mention on that about that. I'm sorry, in the comment section. I'm here looking for it at the same time. So I think that we have to definitely go to the owners. We must look at the owners of these vehicles.
Agreed 100%.
What else can we do? I mean, why don't we have, I remember where the children, and I might be out of touch with this one because I don't have any young ones going, but you can help me. The children used to go free on the transport board bus.
That system is still implemented. That system is still there. However, the children congregate in Warrens, Boxers Road, Main Yard, Lower Green, River Van Stan. COULDN Road. So you will see the Black Rock Main Road. You will see a lot of students in Whole Town, Town, congregating in different areas, waiting on the example 490, waiting on ZR vans and special vans. So they
So
would not get into the public, the transport board, so that they could get on the Bashment van to get to school.
okay, so there are vans, there are transport board buses available, but
Allocated, yes.
allocated to get them to school. But they are not, they are choosing not to go on those buses. They are waiting on these vans,
Correct.
on the special vans.
On the special
So
vans.
so how are we going to solve that problem? Because the government, if the government is doing what they have to do in providing the transport, the bigger buses for them could hold more of them instead of 25 of them squeezing up in a bus that seats 15. What's the solution there? What do
I
you do?
believe if they could come up with a shuttle program, this shuttle program, we could do it similar to the TAP program. You get different PSV owners that who will be willing to provide that service between 7 and 9 every day, and then you these are the rules and regulations transport our students. So the same main points where the children like to congregate, like the Warrens and the different bus terminals, we can have the same PSVs allocated to shuttle these students there. And this now could be also managed by the police service. I remember in my time when you at Jordan supermarket by 9 o'clock and you in the van, you will see child care board van circling, and you go around for Jordans, or they're gonna pick you up and put you in the van and carry to school.
Mm. So but
More
I,
policing in the city at the different terminals.
yeah. But good. It's a suggestion that we could look at. Kamar is asking, and this is one of the questions. What I was asking really, why are they taking the not taking the public transportation? The
Again,
government transportation. Somebody said asking if they operate on time or during the school or mornings and evenings. Are they generally on time? What is it? I would love to hear from a student why they're not taking those buses. Do you know, Dwayne, if they Dale, if they operate on time?
yeah, look, so some of the school buses operate on time. In addition to that, I strongly believe is that you are peer pressured to look cool. You want to be cool. You want to get school late. So, like today, one of the things that I witnessed is that some of the same students that were on this same ZR van got to school early, signed in early, and exited the far gate to board the van when it was going to heading up to BRC. So the students got to school early and then exited to then get the van just to joyride.
Wow. So so you're saying generally the school buses, if anybody else out there know anything otherwise can let us know that they come on time. It seems to me then that it's a lawlessness. It's a lawlessness among the students, where they do not want to take the safer route. They want to have fun on their way to school. The other buses, the PSVs, they have music, right?
Correct.
What let's talk about what is drawing the children to the minibuses. I call them minibuses. What's drawing them? Let's talk about it. You used to go to
The
school.
music, children
The
love to say
music.
everyone hearing engine rhythm.
They don't want to hear what?
Engine rhythm.
They don't want to hear no engine rhythm. Oh Lord have mercy. They don't want to hear the children don't want to hear the engine rhythm. Even
Correct.
though and they're on their way to school and they want to hear the latest songs. And so they don't have the songs on the transport board buses. So you believe it is the music that's driving them to go to these other buses.
yeah, the music and how the buses look. Because a conductor said today, man, see tomorrow, none of one can't get in my van because when I don't wait for my van, no, the pretty van, Masha, I want to see what they're gonna do. That's what the conductor said this morning.
Oh, so they pimp the rides, you know, they make the rides beautiful, and then the children and the music. So it's how the van looks, the music, and the children are. Oh boy! So how are we going to solve this thing? Because I don't know what the government is going to be able to do. It is going to take parents. This is a holistic approach. Adrian is saying that the music should be banned. And because guess what they've done in Jamaica. I can tell you this, and if Dave can find it, find the information and put it up for me, Dave. In Jamaica, starting this school term, they have put some buses on the road, some big buses have been put on the road, and these buses, I mean, to me they're ugly, but the children are riding these buses. They paid for the buses. Jamaica brought them in. Dave, if you can find them. And they're saying that the children, they're making them cool, and they're going in the buses and they're lining up to go take these big, ugly American school buses. So I don't know if it is something that, you know, we're brainstorming here what the government could do. But there is a caller on the line. Let this caller. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Marcia.
Yes, let me make sure. Dale, can you hear the caller?
Yes, please.
Yes, go right ahead, sir.
Marcia,
Yes,
what are you doing?
I am doing great.
Right. So earlier this year, I took the time to address this issue at Freedom Square.
Freedom
Barbados.
Square. Can you tell us what did you do at Freedom Square?
Barbados, what really happened? Public transport.
Mm.
I addressed, and a number of points I made on that night related to this issue of what goes on those minibuses.
Mm-hmm.
This is a scourge that's been in this nation for years. And the people who have responsibility for dealing with it, for some reason, have not been able to deal with it. We are going to continue to play around with it until these kinds of situations happen. Then we get to talking about it, and all we do is talk around the situation. And the people whom we have elected and given the responsibility to bring order and discipline to this situation, they are not doing it. I am trying to find out what is the reason. Why aren't they doing it? I suspect that somebody is benefiting from it. That people are benefiting from the chaos that is going on. And this is the point I'm making. Because people are benefiting from the chaos continues. I do not believe, I will not accept that in 2025, with intelligent, educated people in the Ministry of Transport and Works in Barbados, with responsibility for public transport, that no solution can be found for the chaos that we have going on within the system. I will not accept that. And if Barbadians accept that, those people, we kind of allow it to go on because nobody is speaking to it. Nobody's paying attention to this and what's going on with our young people. Now, here already tonight, you're hearing everybody relating what these young people do on a daily basis before they get to school. It is not a secret. The type of music that is played on the bus is not a secret. Why should this continue over and over again? It continues unabated. We have people talking all over the face for years. And it happens no matter what administration is in. It happens and the chaos continues. Who are the owners? I've asked. One of the things I said I would like to see, let us publish the names of the owners of these buses in the newspaper. Let us see who the people are that are benefiting from these buses, the people who demand these monies from their drivers. Who are these owners? Why is this allowed to happen, and continue to happen when we have educated, well-paid individuals managing, having responsibility for our public transport system? And here we are tonight, mourning over. We're just thankful to God that no lives were lost today.
Yes.
But as your guest is saying there, you leave from there and go, in spite of this happening, go tomorrow morning and see across the length and breadth of the transport system, same craziness will be going on, same nonsense on the buses. Who will bail the cat? Who will bail the cat? Who is the person? Who's the minister? Who's the person with responsibility in Barbados who has the guts to do something about the situation?
Who have the guts? But let me ask you something. You said that you addressed this issue some time ago. Can you take us through that? Dale, I want to keep this caller on a little bit because I think he's onto something here. I see you're nodding your head and you're smiling. He's onto something here. Sir, talk to me about what is it? You said that you tried to address something with the Ministry of Transport. Can you explain that?
No, I spent a Friday night at Freedom Square and talked about the public transport system. Barbados, what really happened, public transport. And addressed this matter of what has been going on for years with our public transport system.
You did a presentation, you did a talk in the...
It was a presentation I did at... Yes, and the focus was on the public transport, and you couldn't talk about public transport without talking about what's happening with our young people.
Yes.
How it is impacting on the lives of our young people, how each day they get immersed into some really awful stuff before they get to school. They get, for years we've groomed them. One of the points I made is what I observed on the West Coast, and I know people have seen it in other places, where the police would stop a minibus or a ZR van and put off excess passengers. It used to happen along Highway 1 a lot. You see the police put off the excess passengers. The passengers, these school children, get off the bus and walk to the next bus stop further down the road. When the police has finished his business reporting the driver of that minibus, the bus proceeds to the next stop and pick up the same children who the police had just caused to disembark from the bus. So what were we doing for all these years? We are teaching them, even before they get to school, how to disobey the law, how to ignore the law, how not to respect the law. And then when these children come out of school and get involved in criminal activity, we scratch our head like Urkel. Like we don't know what we've been doing. And this is the thing that I've seen happening in Barbados. That people are seeing crazy things happening. We allow foolishness to happen. We train the children, allow them to disobey and disrespect the police before they get to school. I remember you're talking about 12, 11, 12, 13-year-olds, all the junior school, for 5 years, they go into secondary school, and they're doing that along Highway 1 and all the other places in Barbados where public transport. And then, when they come out of school, and they have no respect for the law, we are shocked. We're scratching our heads and wondering, how did that happen? We listen to the lyrics, investigate the lyrics of the songs that are being played on the buses that are attracting the children. Investigate the lyrics. Somebody do something on it. Investigate what kind of music are these bus drivers playing in the children's ears every day, every evening, every morning. You get it before they go to school. They get it after they finish school. What is it they're getting? So they're getting two sets of education. Two sets of education.
Wow.
And then when having soared to the wind, when we see the whirlwind begin to swing around us, we start, as I said, like Urkel, scratching our head and wondering, how did this happen? it's a mystery. It's no mystery. It's no mystery, Marcia. And unless somebody, I was shocked, surprised. I went to Trinidad a couple of years back and happened to travel on their bus system. Trinidad, they have their public transport under a certain measure of control. You can't get it done in Barbados.
Yeah, and can I tell you, caller, the same thing in Jamaica, because
we like to beat our chests.
Yeah.
I see how we are leaders in the Caribbean. I heard another ad today about that. I think Flo is now boasting about leadership in the Caribbean. And we're fooling ourselves. We need to get up and travel and see what's going on in the rest of the region. And wake up and see that we need to do something about this public transport system, especially as it relates to our young people and what they're exposed to. You mean to tell me that you can put nothing in place to stop that kind of nasty, wicked, diabolical music for playing on those buses?
Yeah.
Nothing. Nobody can do anything about it. And the only reason I'm saying there has to be some good reason, some reason why there is no end to it. And my guess is that somebody or bodies are benefiting from that.
Yes.
Financially. The chaos that's going on in our public transport system.
Listen, sir, can I just, I know you're on here a little bit. Dale, just bear with me a little bit. Dale, you can jump in as well. He keeps saying that somebody is benefiting, because I'm here thinking that why would I want to change if the children can ride for free on the transport board bus, but when they come and take my bus, they pay. Don't they pay there?
Yeah, they have to pay.
So why as an owner, and I'm speaking to the owners of these buses right now, and I know that the buses, I did my research. I only pretend like I didn't know. I know that majority of these buses are owned by Indians, whose children, by the way, don't take those buses. Your children don't take those. Anyway, let me think. The caller, what I'm saying is like a light bulb is going off in my head. Now, why would they want to change? I see where you're going. If the children are paying, 25 of them are paying on this bus. If they go on the public transportation, they don't pay anything. So why would they want it to not change with a country if it can be changed in Jamaica? And you're saying now in Trinidad, why could it be changed in Barbados? So many educated people, a minister of transportation getting over $100,000 a year, $100,000 a year plus entertainment allowance, plus about $200,000 in entertainment and travel. What would they be doing that this issue is not fixed? I sorry, caller, I had you on there, but a light bulb just went off in my head as you were saying that. Dale is smiling. He caught it long before me. Is there anything else you want to say, caller?
No, I think I just wanted, when I heard this thing going on, and I just had this flashback to what I'm focusing on, the fact that this been happening for years, Marcy. This is not anything new. This is not anything new. This has been going on for years, and we get up and we talk about it. Everybody lament, and after this incident, you're gonna hear all the weeping and the mourning and the groaning, but nobody would bear the cat. Nobody has the guts. There's nobody seen none of the leaders have the guts to bear the cat. Do something about it. You tell me people say this and nothing can be done about it. That is defeatist. That is like, we got to do better. We have, as leaders, we have to do better. Our leaders have to do better. They must do better. We have to demand, and maybe there are not enough of us rising up and asking them and demanding that they do better. Yeah. Because there seems to be a culture in Barbados that likes this bad boy, bad, nasty lyric stuff. And if the majority of people like it, then, they're going to stay there. It seems that way. It seems as though there's a set of people who couldn't give to hoops what music is played on the minibuses, what filth is played into our children's ears. And if those seem to be the majority of people in Barbados, then let it continue. It seems that that's the attitude of our leaders.
Yes, leaders should lead.
But look what it leads to. You let somebody investigate the process that happened this morning. If what I'm hearing is true, from what this bus would have passed the school, I don't even want to repeat that because I will have to say alleged. I don't believe that happened. Bus passed the school. Somebody at school already had come up and get in the bus and go joyriding. Which responsible driver? I don't want to talk about that because that's something that's going to be a court case and all that kind of thing. I don't think we should even go there to discuss that. But that cannot be what happened. I doubt it. I don't believe that happened.
Caller, thanks for calling, and it's something that we need to demand for changes and look at some of the other places. I mean, we had it very, very terrible in Jamaica, and I want to tell you that it was a church. It was a church, Dale and caller and viewers, that pushed for the changes in the transport system in Jamaica. You know. I know that as a fact. The woman was a teacher at GERALD.
I would say to you that somebody has to get up and start pushing for it because the leaders don't seem to be able to come up with any solutions for some strange reason. Somebody has to get up and begin to push for it because if we don't, we're going to see some carnage on our roads. As a matter of fact, what we are concerned about is what we saw today with the injuries. But think about the injury. That is the amount of injury that is going on with our young people that might not be physical, but what is going on with our young people on a daily basis. We scream out and we are shouting because there was an accident. A minibus turned over. But what about the damage that is being done every day that is not seen until it manifests itself?
Yes.
In violence and the kind of behavior that we see after. So we're now shouting because this was an accident where people got physically injured. But what about the damage that is being done every day? A lot more damage took place today, a lot more injury took place today in Barbados with our young people. But it was a physical injury. And because it is not manifested like that, we don't pay attention to it. And we've not been paying attention to it. If you were to get an investigation, get somebody to pull find some of these songs that these people are playing, it would turn your hair green. The kinds of stuff that people are listening to on those.
But Connor, that is where where it started in Jamaica. They started to put the lyrics out and waged a war on the music. That's where they started, and until they got it out the bus the buses completely, and today we're seeing where there's a change that is happening. But Colin, thank you so much.
Isn't that kind of funny, Marcy? That isn't that kind of weird that some of the same music so Jamaica get it out their minibuses, but there's some of the same music being produced in Jamaica ends up here in our minibuses.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That's
a strange thing that's happening.
It is.
Because when you look at some of the people who produce a lot of this music just from the same Jamaica.
Yes. And it's they can't play it on their bus. Thank you so much, caller. Thank you. Wow, that was very insightful, Dale. Any thoughts there? Any thoughts?
I agree with him 100%. I agree because little do we understand is that when these young children see, get off the van, you walk down to 2-3 bus stops further down the road, the van man picks you up, you for sure tell yourself, I don't respect the police. When I get to school, I ain't gonna respect the teacher. Because if the van man in front for the police, they still pick me up. We definitely can disrespect teachers. We don't know what level of involvement in alcohol or whatever these children are being exposed to on these ones on the morning. So, you know, we need to put some strict penalties on the PSV operators, point blank.
Wow. Ah, I tell you. Somebody has here, Dave have the following extracts from Ralph Thorne speaking in Parliament as he addressed the impact of music with respect to the debate of the Firearms Amendment Bill. Dave, okay, go ahead. Dave has some things there for us to listen to. Go ahead, Dave.
Culture refers obviously to the habits, the practices, the norms. It is that totality of life. It is how we behave, how we function, how we relate to each other, how we pray to God even, that is a part of the culture. How we party together. We all know that righteousness exalteth a nation, and sin is a reproach to any people. You are hearing the voice of a sinner. I am no paragon of virtue. I merely try to be a moral force for good. And I appeal to all my colleagues in here, all 30 of us, including you, sir, to be able that when we leave here and when we finish with the business of this parliament, to be able to say to our constituents and this country that we have tried to be moral forces for good. Somebody must stand up in this country and address the issue of a culture that is in decay. When I was at school, we didn't start off with that. Your Honor, every time I hear the hymn, "New every morning is the love," or "Awakening and uprising prove, through sleep and darkness, safely brought, restored to life and power and thought." Up to today, some of my colleagues in here remember that hymn. And every time I hear that hymn, it transports me back to my school hall at Grace Hill, to my school hall at Wesley Hall, to my school hall at Harrison College. And to this day, it means something to me. What does it mean to a child today when he goes to school and before his classes start, he has to be repeating in a schoolyard with his colleagues? You like Mobby? Don't be afraid. And you can take the bark off of somebody. And when you're done with she, you can bring she sister. And that's how our school children start the day. Righteousness exalts a nation. Sin is a reproach to any people. Music is so powerful. You may hear someone morning at 7 coming down in the car. And all 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you still singing it. It is as powerful as that, Your Honor. Music touches the soul. How are we touching the souls of our little children? Are we touching their souls with sex and violence at the age of 10? For God's sake, at the age of 10? Let us give to our children lives that will be memorable, not lives that will be snuffed out when they reach 18 or 19 or 20. Let us not condemn our children to a prison. Let us give them the freedom of wholesomeness. It used to be something that was so cherished, wholesomeness. A friend of mine asked me just this week, do you see anybody going to Sunday school now? Sunday mornings used to be the gentle hour. The gentle hour. We can't blame the churches if the people not going. It's not the church's fault. The decision is made elsewhere for people who breach their responsibility to their children. I don't blame the churches. Righteousness will exalt this nation, and sin will continue to be a reproach to our people. I'm obliged to you, sir.
Well, Dale, that was Mr. Ralph Thorne before he crossed. You know, it wasn't something that he was putting on. You know that the way he is, it's a way. It's that was the speech, and that was a speech in that black suit before he crossed. Actually, could be a month before. I'm not sure if it was a full year. Somebody can send me a message and correct me about that. But really, I mean, and he was addressing that particular issue, and I think the caller is right. If you want to address it, it will be addressed.
Correct.
But you have to want it. Go ahead. You're saying something.
No, I was listening to you, man.
Okay. I thought you were saying no. If you really want to address it, you will. You will. And I'm hoping that, you know, this might be the catalyst. I'm hoping that this might be, because there's a whole department, you know, there's a whole ministry that deals with this.
Honestly, right, Marcia, like the caller said, let's be honest, this culture was going on for years.
Mm-hmm.
For years. And sad to say, no one really want to take the bull by the horn and really address the situation. Because look, the same way we could put the emphasis on tint,
yeah,
the same way we could enforce a better system to transport and shuttle our children to school. Rules it out to the vans, put a system in place. I remember, I personally, we couldn't be liming by Jordans after 9 because the guys will come and pick you up and put you in the child care board van and carry you to Last of All. So
in your time, there was a van that picking up truants, like for truancy.
No, if you line in after 9, and the police and whomever from child care board looking for the delinquent children that are waiting on the bashment van, the last trip.
Oh, so they used to do something about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell me more. I don't know. I didn't know about that.
I would assume this was in Mr. Ronald Jones' time, you know. I think the child care board and the police or whomever, you know, they used to just maneuver through Orleans, Boxers Road, the River Van Stand, the Lower Green Terminal, just looking for the children that lime in and not heading to school. So they get out, they say come, then they put you in the van and shuttle you off to school. But this is a culture that was going on for years, and nobody really want to address the situation. So we doing more detriment to the children as opposed to the accident, like the caller said. I totally agree. Because when you see all of these behaviors in school, it's because they don't respect the teachers nor even the parents.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't respect the police, you know, and who's to say one of the students at some point they had some whiskey as well? Who's to say it ain't happening? The same thing that happened this morning. So when these children go to school with just a little shot, what do you think will happen? They can't focus for the small. If that music alone, you can't focus.
Mm-hmm.
That music, a red fruity, a pack of corn curls. How can you focus in class? I can't put all of the blame on the parents because I saw a lot of professional parents came this morning. Persons working at different companies and persons that well put together. So these parents off to work for the 8 o'clock start. However, you think that your child or ward at school by 8:39, not knowing that child on the last trip.
Yeah.
So a lot of the kids doing what they're supposed to do. However, we have these immature PSV drivers that still operating like, you know, like they're still in school.
Yeah. You know, I the more I'm thinking about this, I I think that, and I'm reflecting on the caller. I think that it is doable. It is something, and you just said it. The same way how we could legislate tint, and we gone for the people the Airbnb and they regulate them. Remember all that regulation that the Airbnb has to do, and even once, I mean, I think in COVID they were saying if you're going to fix your home that you will have to move out. They went to pains in writing all of these bills and these laws. We have had so many bills and laws by this government. I mean, this should be nothing for them to fix.
Yeah, I think I should have a bill already. A bill should be ready by as it relates to the PSV.
Yeah, this is should be. I mean, the deputy prime minister. She is the minister of transport and works, right? So this should be a no-brainer. Let me see. There's a caller here. There's a caller. Let me just accept this caller. Good night, caller. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Hi. Yes, good night, Marcia.
Good night. Good night. Welcome. Can you speak up a little for us? Thank you.
Yes, sure. I just want to say that you guys are on the ball in terms of this PSV nonsense. This thing has been going on as your panelist there is saying for years, and he called it. 20 years this thing has been going on. But what I recognize is that when these minivans were owned by Barbadians, I remember there used to be a stringent pattern going on with police and everybody down on the owners and the drivers for these vans.
Really?
And from the time, years ago, I remember when these vans, they had to start putting on paintings on the outside of these vans.
Hold a minute.
You can have all these different.
I'm the new kid on the block here. So the caller is saying that, because that was going through my mind, but you are speaking what my mind was thinking, but I didn't have the facts. So you're saying that you remember that when the vans were mainly owned by Black Barbadians, I'm going to talk straight, that there were lots of regulations on them.
There were, when you say regulations, I am saying that these paintings and stuff that they used to say that the van, when you got these paintings across the front and that kind of stuff, the police used to be telling you that sending you up to point, just stay in the next thing. Every minute you used to be taking vans off the road and selling this place and selling the next place. And for some reason, all of this just went through the window. I remember too, they start painting up the vans on the outside. Now the paintings were on the inside of the vans to attract the children again. So they get inside to see all these bombastic things painted all through the vans, all these names and these writings and stuff. And then the music. I remember the music too. When the police hear vans coming from a distance, when the guys know that the police approaching, or because they tell the one that on the road where the police are. And they had what they call kill switches. It's just switch and the music cuts off. And as soon as they get past the police, blam, music back on again. But what people don't understand is that these vans were owned by predominantly a lot of police. A lot of some of them were magistrates had handed them. And we couldn't get nothing done. Some policemen that were serious about stopping these people from doing nonsense on the road couldn't get nothing to do, because by the time they put in the requisition to get them reprimanded or whatever, it is thrown out. Somebody goes and pays either the police, they pay this body, and know that the Indians have these things. It is worse. It is even worse. And for the life of me, I don't understand where Bajans get this culture. We have fellas that would drive vans. A conductor would be on the van as well as the driver. And these men work vans for 20-some odd years. And when they come around now time that the Indians want to get this permit, so why don't these drivers find themselves in a position with the conductors to go and invest and take over his van for themselves, why would you now be looking to pay an Indian $450 a day? And then whatever coming after the diesel will come out of it, and then your pay as well as the conductor pay. It doesn't make sense. And then when you look at some of these same people that driving the vans for these Indians are renting an apartment from the Indians or just a room.
What?
And then they go now and they go as far now as going now and leasing a vehicle from the same Indians.
So
What
hold
the hell are we doing?
Hold a minute. You
How
take
can
it
you-
easy. Take it easy with me there, because you're saying that because I know I've spoken to the drivers. I only was pretending. I know that majority of these vans are owned by Indians, and I'm not afraid to say it. They're not untouchables as far as I'm concerned. But and I know that they're paid $450. Sometimes more, the guys have to pay them. So you're saying after they pay them the $450, some of these same guys, Bajan guys, go on and rent a room from those same people, and then turn around, go lease a vehicle from them. So they're basically slaves. It's like modern day slavery.
Exactly, Marcia. And that's why I don't understand where Bajans get it from. It is the craziest thing I have ever heard. There's no way that I'm working for a place and I'm going and all of my money is going back to that same place at the end of the week or the end of the month. It is crazy. Makes no sense. But this is what's going on. But with these vans, it is all about who owns them. The problem is all about who owns these vans now. So, these people are in a position to pay their way out.
Yes.
Whenever these things happen with these ZRs, these minivans, how many times do you hear or see in the news, this person was charged for this offense?
Yes.
You seldomly hear. You don't hear anything about it unless the van still operated under some poor person.
Yes.
So they just need to wake up. And we as parents need to stop our children from getting on these bloody vans. They do nothing for our children. All they do is corrupt their mind. And as the other person was saying just now, it is not the other person, our opposition leader right now, he was saying it in Parliament, as you clearly stated not too long. The culture. When you got children going now and listening to this thing from morning, as he said, music is something that captures the soul. It is something that it holds on to you. If you play a little beat early in the morning and is a little upbeat something, that is what the mind is captivate the mind, and throughout the day, as he said, you will keep singing this song or humming it.
Yes.
And the musicians need to understand that. Control your lyrics that you are putting out here. I am not saying that those lyrics are put out specifically for the road. They are put out for the dubs. But why is it that you're getting on the roads and being able to play on the roads? And these radio stations, one time you could play a song like that, that type of lyrics. Now we are playing the song right up to it. You can say what you can say. Beep. Not even beating it out. No, you just take cut. But by the time you get to that point, everybody knows what's coming next. What's the next word? And children that are singing along, children know these songs no better than they know the timetables. It is crazy.
Yeah.
When are we going to put a stop to it? These vans have been going off the road. We see different little videos of vans shooting off the road and cutting back across a little track and jumping back on the road. These people need to be stopped. What I had one incident already in Redmond Village. A guy almost struck my vehicle with a ZR. And I was a great 7. And when he pulled around me now, he get to side of my van, he tell me he shouldn't hit it. His boss need a new van.
He should have his boss. He told me his boss need a new van.
He tell me his boss need a new van. So you know me, I was crazy enough to tell him, well, yeah, your boss would get a new one, but you probably have to get a new driver as well.
Wow. Well,
I
caller.
mean, these people,
Yeah.
these people are crazy.
Thank you for the enlightenment.
And we need to do something about it, and we need to do something about it now.
No.
Not later. It's too long that has been going on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Anyhow, thanks for hearing me, and
yes.
I will continue to watch the show.
Yes, yes. Very, very good contribution. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, we're getting some great contribution tonight. You know, Dale, I had something totally different planned. I told you what happened. And sometimes I say these things, and when people think I'm just making them up, I was literally laying on my bed and I was just quiet and saying my prayers. And I felt this was what time I called you? After 5, right?
Yeah.
I had a whole other segment planned, 2 other segments following up from last night. You know, and you just came in my mind, called Dale, and just have him right after, you know, at 8:30, and then go back. My plan was to go back to my regularly scheduled program. Just, you know, 15 minutes. I said I was going to have him on for 15 minutes. You know, but clearly this is where we were supposed to go tonight. I had no idea, but now Mr. Who is this in the diaspora? My diasporans are the best. Adrian Hines is finding. He's saying something here, Dale, and the callers that have called the people. Let's gang up on this thing. He's saying, Adrian is saying that the laws seem to be there on the books, but they are not being enforced. Adrian, is that what you're saying? Somebody, we need to research this. This is something we need to dig in. The laws are there, but they're not being enforced. And listen, I'm not against any race of people or ethnic group, but the reality is this: there's a set of people in here that they're untouchable. There's a set of them in here and it's untouchable, and I'm tired of it because it comes up in different ways. And when there's sometimes I can't even say who they are, you know. Now we have a bus turnover. Who's the owner of that bus? Do you know who's the owner?
Yeah, a black Barbadian. He was very upset. He said that, you know, he don't know why this guy keep, you know, wasting time with the school children. So, you know, this owner that came this morning, really upset. He stayed for the whole duration, you know, when the ambulance came and then moved the children. So, this particular owner, at least he has some kind of standard from what I have seen, you know. But you know, majority of PSV owners don't really care, to be honest.
They don't really care because they've got to get that 450. I think that whatever this new regulation that they're going to have to do when we are finished, because we're going to lobby. We're a pressure group, loyal opposition. That is something that we need to pick up on this. When we are done, the owners are going to be punished as well.
Yes,
you know why? Because they are driving it. They drive the culture because they've got to get the money at the end of the day.
And also, incidents like this make it very difficult for those same owners to get insurance, because a lot of insurance companies do not want to insure the PSVs. So something like this, you know, this all over social media is going to make things even difficult for those law-abiding PSV owners, because we have some good PSV owners as well. So it's going to make it difficult for the ones that are actually following the rules and regulation. So, you know, it also have a ripple effect all the way down. It affect one and not, you know, and not the next. It affect all, every single person.
Yeah.
We need to ban, you know, if we're going to ban the children from the PSVs, we need to put a solution in place to facilitate it. I don't think the government could buy 300 buses to facilitate that program, operate and work with the PSV owners. You know, create a shuttle program where both could follow, you know, the PSV could follow some serious rules and regulations, and we'll be able to transport our children without the nonsense music, the alcohol, and the, you know, the speed.
Mm-hmm.
Put a
Yeah.
good child service in place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, this is I'm here thinking. We really need to do some research on this thing, and you know, listen, and force the hand of the government, the people.
Yes, we definitely have to. We definitely have to. You know, because allocate more bike cops on the road to patrol the you know, the route that these ZRs and the minibuses have to, you know, transport these children between these the 7 and 9, and then the 2:30 to 5. You know, dispatch more bike cops. Do something.
Yeah. Wow. This is opening up a can of worms, because the thing is that the bus culture, the minibus culture, is also connected to the drug and gun culture. You know, there's some connection there. So it's that is quite interesting. There is somebody on the line. Caller, good night. If you could turn down your device so we could hear you. Thank you so much. Yes, caller, go right ahead. It's great to hear you.
Yes, good night.
Can you speak up a little for us? Speak up a little louder.
Yes, good night. Good night, Marcus and Deal. Blessings to everyone tonight.
Good night.
I'm calling to let everybody know the Von culture. It will always go on because what you say so is being tied into the law and also the Indians, as everybody's saying, and you know, they got different owners, on the vans, etc. But when we mostly try in that from way back, even my days, even before my days, the van culture was a very popular thing. The school children love the vans, don't care how much free way that again for the buses. They were still love the black van culture. So that's one thing that we could work on, but it'd be a very hard task to work on. Because it just generally in the Barbadian, you know, youth, that's all really. They just say to have fun. So that's a fun for them, but the untruth is a serious thing that will happen today. So what we parents need to do is try to curve it. They're not trying to curve it, but eventually it will happen. But van culture it will take a while before we get rid of that van culture. But trust me, it'll go on for a long time. So all we can do is try our best to do what we have to do for our children.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, blessing.
Yes, thank you. So he's putting some of the responsibility on the parents, you know. Yeah, but and I think that it is important. And okay, well, someone here has sent me, Dave, I'm going to send you something that they said that this is something David Thompson did. I know of this because I was in Barbados when he became prime minister. Dave, I just sent you something, and we can, in the last 2 minutes, take a look at this. And someone said we need to revisit what David Thompson did and why he did it. I don't know if Dale, you know that, or anybody out there. Why? Because when David Thompson, when he came into office, what he did, from my memory, is that he's the one who instituted free bus fare. No bus fare for the children. Was he the one, right?
Yes.
And my understanding of why he did that was trying to deal with some of these issues. Right? He was seeking to deal with some of these challenges. Here, Barbados introduces free bus rides for students. Dave, if you could go up a little, thank you, and make it a bit bigger for us. Thank you so much, Dave. Barbados, which already offers free state finance education from primary to university levels, has now added free bus travel to and from school for its estimated 10,000 to 12,000 students. It previously cost each child $1, 50 cents US per ride. The innovation was introduced at the start of the 2008 Barbados school year, along with a new dress code for the students. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Go back up, Dave. This is it. I know people, but let me read that sentence again, Dale. The innovation was introduced at the start of the 2008 Barbados school year, along with a new dress code for the students. For the most part, parents have welcomed the financial relief from bus fares, and Barbados school principals have reported that more students have been arriving on time for classes. Prime Minister David Thompson, in 2008 budget presentation, announced that all school children in uniform or under 18 years old and carrying identification would be allowed to travel free on the buses. The Barbados government has allocated an extra $8 million to cover the new free ride service. Barbados already spends about 20% of its US $1 billion annual budget on education. Day one of the new uniform code saw about 250 students being sent back home for failure to comply. They were mostly female students with uniforms that were too short or male students with too baggy pants. They all eventually returned to their classrooms. Can I tell you that this is something that Jamaica is actually doing? My school in Jamaica, the girls could not, just the other day, could not go to school with edges. They had to put back their hair and stop trying to make edges. It made all international news, but that principal could not care less. So David Thompson was advocating for uniforms and the children going to school on a school bus, on a bus, and going free on the big bus, on the school to school. Okay, so they came into power, and what is it? Because he did it, they're going to let it go to ruin and not enforce it. They come in now and say no uniform, and not that no uniform, but they didn't say no uniform, but basically, nobody's being sent.
Hear how you feel, sir.
Huh?
Wear your hair how you want to.
Wear your hair how you want to. So they're untidy. And I'm wrong to say no uniform. What I meant was that the school, just looking neat for school. The principle behind it wasn't working. Meanwhile, the Barbados government has announced it's putting on hold plans by the previous administration to introduce a University College of Barbados. Education Minister Ronald Jones has indicated that his current priority is working to build capacity at the post-secondary education facilities. And it goes on. So we want to, that is quite telling. That is quite telling. Dave, this is the same thing here? You showed me to read this? Whenever, this is Caswell Franklin, head of Unity Workers Union. Is this an article by him, Dave? And this was in that period of time. Whenever Matthew Farley is out of the news for any extended period, he manages a set of circumstances that catapult himself into the headline. His latest headline, grabbing stunt, was the suspension of 265 students for uniform infringements. Okay. 9 chances out of 10 when mass suspensions of school. Okay. I'm trying to understand where we're going with the what the article. And so he is supporting Mr. Matthew Farley. Yes, that is that. Okay. Um. Yes. Well, I mean, Dale.
Yes, please, Marcia.
It's 10:04. 10:04, and I think we've gone 4 minutes over. But I tell you, this is something that have you shaking your head, right?
Yeah, man.
We were supposed to go 15 minutes on this. I will pick up the water issue on Wednesday, and continue the Blue Green Bank. I was going to continue that this evening, but obviously we went into a whole another direction. What's your final word that you want to say tonight, Dale, before we close?
I just want to say that I hope that the PSV drivers, be a bit more cognizant moving forward. And when we, commuting the road on a daily basis, and we see these guys, just record the registration number and call in to the insurance company, calling to the police. Because if you call the police and you don't get a good response, call the insurance companies, because this cannot be acceptable. Because let's say, God forbid, a fatality happened today, what would have been next? So we really need to be a bit more responsible and hold self accountable. And I think that these van drivers need to do way better, honestly speaking. And I know that a Democratic Labour Party government will put better systems in place to eradicate this kind of culture. Because I guarantee you that, Mr. Thorne, we already have things in place, and I guarantee the public, Marcia, that once we are given the opportunity, you see that van culture, we're gonna eradicate it, point blank, period. I witnessed the van culture as a teenage boy at Lester Vaughan, and it's still the same thing. So I have an idea how we can, put systems in place to really, change the culture. It's not good for our students, and it only put our young black males in that frame of mind that, when they get to school, I can be rude and disrespectful. Nobody can't tell me nothing, and I ain't doing no work. So these young black males watching the conductors and drivers behave in a particular manner, that is gonna say, yeah, boy, I like how he operating. You might not have a male figure at home, but you as a young male looking up to these guys, you're gonna think that disrespecting the authority, disobeying the authority, playing the music how you feel to, driving as you feel, it is the way to go. So when you get to school, you're going to operate like you're a big man or you're a big woman. So all I'm going to say, is that I urge the PSV operators and owners to, take transporting our people a bit more serious. And I hope that no fatalities happen moving forward.
Yes, and very well said, Dale. And I know you were sent there today. You were sent there, and I had no intention of you being on the show this evening until after 5. That I was really directed to call you. That's the most I can say. And I wish you all the best in what you're doing, and the fact that you didn't use the opportunity to play politics. You got to serve and help the people. It's not like you were home and heard about it and you ran there. You were there dropping off your child, and you just got involved and started helping. And I just want to commend you for the work that you are doing. I want to invite you out, Dale, and everybody on Saturday. This is a me I couldn't care less, and I hope this is not something that you couldn't care less about. It's been going on since she's been in office. They haven't done anything about it. This van culture. But we are having a protest march on Saturday. Me, I couldn't care less about the St. Lucie brown water, the Uber that threatens the livelihoods of taxi holders, citizenship and immigration bill, failing healthcare, youth unemployment, high government taxes and fees, high living costs, underemployment, crippling the small Airbnb owners, the flooding. I mean, the list could go on and on, the overdevelopment. Oh, we could keep, this list is so long, but we don't have enough space to put everything on this one thing. So everybody come out on Saturday, right, Dale? I know you go to your constituency on a Saturday, right? So, I'm still inviting everybody. Come out on Saturday. At 10 o'clock, we start right there at Massey car park in Kensington, and we're marching coming up. We're going to ask everybody, bring your whistle, bring a horn, bring something, a conch shell, and bring a bottle of brown water with a cover so it doesn't spill. Walk with a small bottle that you can manage on the road of water, brown water. But when you walk, you're walking for St. Lucie, you're walking for St. Peter, and all of those parishes, St. John, that experience the brown water. Yeah? Yes? St. Lucie, water. So everybody, walk with your water, walk with some water. Those of you who can, walk with your whistle, walk with something. And you have your shirts already, get your shirts, okay? So Dale, great job. Keep doing what you do, okay? And much blessings to you, sir. God bless you. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. God bless.
What we do? We marching. We marching. Behind the big truck, loyal opposition, we moving up. Behind the big truck. You. Behind the sun come up, I feel the vibe. Time to move, we come alive. Step by step, no turning back. Behind the big truck, on the track.
Oh my. All right, Dave, that's it for the night. I don't know what he's saying. All right, good night, people. Good night. See you on Wednesday. God bless.